My friend.
I came to warn you.
Tell me.
He's coming, sire. The leader of the hentai horns.
Man your posts!
Find the women, sire. The women.
Everyone take your position! Women first! Find the women! Especially Asian women! It's Jorge the White Conqueror! He's coming with his hentai horns!
I am prepared to die with honor, sire, against the Grand Chorus.
You are the brave one, Ophelius. Now feel this indeed.
Like that! That filthy, uncircumcised animal! I've been killing homos! Why are you Taffy?
Breeder! Breeder! He's a breeder!
The American pig!
Good job in the belly.
Small-chested Julio!
That skirt doesn't go in your hair.
I'll take you down in the name of good white Christianity!
Emerging victoriously once again in defense of perversion. The leader of the hentai hordes, Jorge Rodriguez.
It's Friday, you bastards.
Can I help you, sir?
Yes. Do you have a match? I need to light my shoelace.
He's got a bomb in his shoe.
When there's a bomb in my shoe and a melody in my heart, I get that ting-ting-tingly feeling when I blow the plane apart to show the world that my faith brings me closer to Allah. Your life is worth the taking, for my religion's the reason why. With a bomb on my feet, I'll put a wet spot on your seat. You'll find that I'm an al-Qaeda crazy when there's a bomb in my shoe. Ah-la-la, ah-la, ah-la. What a wonderful way to die this way. Leave me alone. I'll bite you in the name of Allah. I want my attorney.
Yes. Do you have a match? I need to light my shoelace.
WABC.
The Russians invaded Georgia in revenge for moose and squirrel. First Georgia, then New Jersey, next in our quest to rule the world. I'm afraid we have miscalculated the Dixie Bumpkin pride. I've got Georgia on my mind as a gun points at my side. It seems they've been viewing too much Russian porn online. When fearless leader failed to provide a supply of Astroglide. What is it you require of me?
I'll require you drop your drawers.
Yet, I refuse. Very well.
Bend over that stump and squeal like a commie pig. Now put this here wig on and call yourself Natasha.
Bolshevik swine!
Do it, boy. Yeah, I mean, girl.
I have always relied on the kindness of strangers. You will pay for this. Squeeze!
Wow, 1204, SoFloRadio.com, Jorge Rodriguez, Boca Brit.
Hey.
Want to do a special thank you to JJ Sam and Steve Captain Hook up there in St. Petersburg for that 5-hour marathon, coverage-a-thon, watch-a-thon, as we continue watching. And CNN, is that what we've decided? Because that's what I got here.
On the line right now. Deb, what's the latest?
It's only video. What about MSNBC?
We could, you know, Why not MSNBC? And you're just going to get me started right away.
Well,
I sit here all day long on my little studio. There's all these things. Up until this thing happened, everybody was talking about what was going on in Congress with the gun bill and everything. We'll get into that at some point. MSNBC angers me because they're supposed to be the left of center representation.
They're not.
They're not. But they are still billed as that. They're still people. The Dog and Pony Show. You're going to get me off of this and onto the whole political Dog and Pony Show. The whole Dog and Pony Show. Well,
no, it's okay. Well, the problem I had with CNN was earlier this morning. Jonathan King came on with a new report on CNN, and he said the moon was made out of cheese. So
yeah. What about
that? Says to me they were
I don't know
going
about
somewhere.
You.
Maybe
By the way,
to set this
is there
up
a
somewhere.
hum?
We don't know.
There's a dynamo hum.
Yeah. See.
Little WD-40 there, or some fish oil. And
it's got fish oil in it. You saw that Facebook posting?
No.
Okay, so it's going to be.
He's yanking
it's
it.
going to have
Lisa
a hum on
Hickey
it.
from the Good Man Project.
God forgive
She's
us.
the CEO. She's
What is
actually
this?
in the middle of it all. It's happening right there in her neighborhood.
Oh my
She's
God!
locked down in her home just a mile away
Buy this
from
woman a
Watertown.
comb.
She joins us via Skype.
I like
Now,
Robin
Lisa,
Mead is what I was trying to
you were
say
there at the
earlier
finish
before you
line
interrupted me.
At the Boston Marathon. Now you're
That's
on
not Robin
lockdown.
Mead.
Describe to me what's happening right now in your neighborhood.
That's her mom. That's a bag lady.
That's called Haggard.
When I was at the
Merle Haggard.
finish line, my kids were all around in the crowd.
so
They
anyway,
were-
Okay, this is not
Jonathan King,
news.
he no
This is
longer,
Suds posted, and Suds will not be here. He's stuck in Sarasota or something, or just stuck having a big breakfast. He'll be here at some Friday. He was a teaser. He teased and said that he was going to be here today, and then not. He's like a chick that way. He's a teaser, occasionally a pleaser. But he posted on Facebook the other day. He said, "Go home, CNN. You're drunk." No shit. Jesus Christ, speculation and rumors and Fox News. Way to go, Brian Craig, by the way, posting that false rumor by Fox News, Fox News.
Hey, you see, it's not a redneck, it's a Middle Easterner after all.
Here's Bruce Silverman, normally Silverman on sports, to set the whole story straight, because he's not just bald. He doesn't just have a deep, ballsy voice. He's not just a sports guy, but he's an actual news guy. And why don't you just tear through and bring us up to date on the facts, and we're just going to download your knowledge and then go back to basically just reading what we see off the screen over here, which is the best we can do, down here in Florida, watching all this unfold.
It's been a pretty wild situation, George. You go back to Monday. Nobody really pays attention to a Boston Marathon other than who wins it. Usually it's a guy from Kenya. They run it in about 2 hours and a few minutes. Everything changed.
Is that a racist statement over there? Are you making a general attitude? Like Kenyans are fast, like Jews are good with money? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying that generally it's a Kenyan that actually wins these major marathons. There's 5 major worldwide marathons, and the Boston Marathon is one of those 5. You actually have to qualify for the Boston Marathon. You just can't sign up for it like you can to run one in Miami or Atlanta or Portland or anything like that. This is actually something you have to qualify for. So what happened is about 2:50 on Monday afternoon, about 4 hours and 9 minutes into the race, there was the first explosion on Boylston Street. And about 20 seconds later, there was another one about 100 yards earlier in the race. The finish line, about 20 to 25 feet away from the finish line, was where the first explosion took place. About 100 yards behind that is where the second one was. Again, that was at about 4:09 into the race. At that point, it is not going to affect the elite runners. The elite runners run in the first wave. They came out, finished anywhere from the 2-hour mark to about the 2:15, 2:30 mark. The people that were coming in at the 4:09 mark were your good runners, the ones that qualified, but ones that certainly weren't going to be in contention for the race. What we know right now, 3 dead and over 170 were injured in those 2 explosions. Since that time, there has been a massive amount of research, a massive amount of police activity at every single level that you can imagine, from the federal government all the way down to the local authorities in Boston and everywhere in between. There have been events over the last 4 or 5 days where there were reports that there was an arrest that was made that wasn't true. This is a story that is so incredibly fluid that very little is actually known about what is taking place now. But let me try to walk you through what has happened in basically the last 12 to 18 hours. About 5 o'clock last night, authorities released pictures of the two suspects. Suspect number 1 wearing a black baseball hat. Suspect number 2 wearing a white hat. We know now.
I'm wearing a black baseball hat, by the way. Just back off.
For suspect 3.
Yeah, I'm wearing a black baseball cap, so just back off.
Okay, fine. That's why we're not in the same studio right now, as I'm in the studios of Silverman on Sports. But this is what we know. 26-year-old suspect was wearing a black cap. They call him Suspect 1. Suspect 2, 19 years old, wearing a white cap. That was about 5 o'clock last night. They put out the pictures. Around 10, 11 o'clock, really things start to happen in the Cambridge area. First, a 7-Eleven is robbed by the two suspects. Then an MIT cop is involved in a shootout and killed by the suspects. There's then a carjacking. The two suspects drive to an area. They get into an altercation with police. There is a shootout. One suspect is dead. It is unclear right now whether the suspect was killed by the police or by the fact that they believe that he was wearing explosive devices on his person.
I kept hearing that he was run over by his brother. These are brothers.
And that has been reported a number of times as well. It's really important to say in this, a lot of things have been reported and backtracked. A lot of things have been done. There is no confirmation in any of this. There has not been an official briefing.
Right. Oh, from the beginning, these speculation, all the rumors, the false rumors. It's this one, it's that one. It's crazy.
It really is, and I know NBC has been reporting that there was going to be a briefing. They keep postponing it and postponing it. So everything that I'm talking about is a culmination of a number of different sources, and at least what we know right now in terms of what has not been backtracked. So there was a 7-Eleven robbed. The thing about all of this that is really baffling to me, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, is these two suspects, and we'll get into what is believed in a second, but they supposedly, allegedly, were the masterminds behind, or at least the people who carried out the bombings on Monday, on Patriots Day in Boston. Why something that sophisticated would then turn into a chase that began robbing a 7-Eleven, I'm not exactly sure. What we know is they robbed the 7-Eleven, they killed an MIT cop, they carjacked a car and reportedly told the owner of the car, we're the ones that did the Boston bombing. But they didn't kill him, which is interesting because they've attempted to kill a number of people, but they took the car, didn't try to kill the driver.
Right.
A shootout took place. The 26-year-old was, in fact, reportedly killed. The 19-year-old brother then took possession of the car, drove away, and reportedly did drive over his brother. Believed to be, the 19-year-old is believed to be in Watertown right now. There's been an unbelievable amount of activity in Watertown for about the last 5 or 6 hours. And police have moved in. At one point, the bomb squad came in, seemed to have taken some devices and then left the scene. The number of different authorities on the scene in Watertown is extensive, and this is just probably a partial list. You got Boston Police, FBI, ATF, state police, SWAT, bomb squads, as well as unknown authorities on the scene. Earlier in the day, reporters were allowed to be relatively close to the situation. They have continued to be sent away from the area, probably at this point, or well over a mile away from the central area where they believe the second suspect, the 19-year-old, is holed up in some way. Over 1 million people in the Boston area have been told to stay indoors, not to go out on the town. This is Boston proper, going into all of the small cities, like I said, centralized in Watertown. Right now, travel in and out of Logan Airport is very, very slim. The Boston Bruins canceled their skate-around this morning. They have a game scheduled with the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight at 7 o'clock. I believe that game will be postponed. The Boston Red Sox are at home, supposed to be taking on the Kansas City Royals at 7:10. I got to believe that's going to be postponed as well. Kerry Sanders of NBC, who we know very well down here in South Florida, used to work at WTVJ and now national reporter for them, has been on the scene the entire day, and he did report that he saw a body on the street in Watertown earlier, but doesn't know what the deal was on that, doesn't know how the body got there, doesn't know if it's a suspect, doesn't know any details other than what he is observing in all of this. There have been all kinds of reports that these two had military experience. That's kind of been tempered a little bit because a 19-year-old, and apparently both of these guys, both of these brothers, 19 years old and 26 years old, came to the United States in 2003. So it's kind of hard to believe that
what country? Uzbekistan, Kurdistan,
Chechnya.
Was it
no,
Chechnya?
Actually, that's the interesting part of this. There was an uncle, a Rusan Sarni, who was interviewed in Maryland, who is the...
Here he is now. They keep showing it over and over again.
And from those who left...
In short, he said they were both punks and losers, and glad to see him.
Exactly. But he also, the interesting thing is that it had been reported that they came from Chechnya.
Right.
And he's saying that is actually not true. So I think what's happening right now is you have a massive police presence throughout Boston, taking care of a lot of different things. You have it centralized in Watertown, but you also have a house that was stormed in Cambridge. 2 people are in custody. They don't know what that is about. They don't know if it's arrest or just for questioning. There were 2 other accomplices. They think that one was on a train to Connecticut. That train was stopped, searched, and then sent on its way. No report if anybody was taken off. There was someone else that they are actively trying to find. They're trying to piece together right now what is going on in Watertown. They're trying to piece together if these 2 individuals worked alone or if they are part of a larger cell of some kind. The president earlier in the week said that this is an act of terrorism. Right now they are trying to identify if it was part of an organized cell or if this was something that just happened organically in the area. Right now, we can speculate all day long, but at the end of the day, this story is going to change minute by minute, hour by hour, and it is going to be very, very interesting to see how this all plays out. It could end in 2 minutes, or it can end in 2 days.
Sure. Well, we've been witness to this kind of thing before. Thank you, television and satellite and all that. Something breaks. It's like the OJ chase. You'd really... when something like this is going on, and as a sports guy, you might start taking bets right now. We should probably start the betting pool right now. I bet you they're not going to take him alive, first of all. There's my prediction.
I hope they do.
I agree with you. I hope they do as well.
Of course.
Because they need to be able to question this guy and find out the details behind this. If you think about September 11th, nobody really got out of that thing alive. And any of the major players, they were all killed on planes.
Right.
But what they were able to do was find some of the support players in South Florida and other areas to find out what roles they played, how long it had been planned, and to find out where the money was coming from and everything else. If they can get this 19-year-old alive, they might get a lot of answers. If not, it is going to take incredible police work, incredible detective work to find out how far-reaching this really was. There is speculation right now. One of the things that the authorities are doing is trying to figure out what the travel situation was with these two brothers. Were they traveling between here and areas close to Russia? Did they actually have training? Could it have been the 26-year-old who got training and came back and trained his brother? On the Today Show this morning, they interviewed a number of people that went to high school with the 19-year-old, saying he was a nice guy, he was a quiet guy, he was well-liked, he was a wrestler. The older brother apparently was a boxer and a fairly good boxer. So what the authorities are doing right now at all different levels of police work is trying to profile who these two guys were, what kind of communication they had inside the United States, inside the Boston area, as well as what was going on worldwide. And they're going to try to get phone records. I know there was one conversation, and you know this just from watching any cop show, NCIS, on television. They want to get their hands on cell phone records. Right. They want to dump it. They want to know who they were calling, who they were in contact with. Right after the marathon in Boston, they shut cell service down in Boston because they were trying to pinpoint some things. I was supposed to have a guest on my show at the beginning of the show Monday night who ran in the marathon, finished, went up to her hotel room, took a shower, came out of the shower, looked out her window, looked down, and witnessed the first explosion going off, but was unable to get her on the show because there was no way to get in touch with her, no way for her to call into the show. This is a story that, just like 9/11, will be told over and over again, and little by little more of the details will come out. George, if you remember, and Suds and is Boca there too?
Yep.
Okay. Guys, if you remember, right after 9/11, I would say within 12 to 24 hours, there was an unbelievable amount of police presence, federal presence in South Florida as soon as they identified where these guys were living and training. And it turned out they were living and training in Miramar. And they used to go to, and the place is no longer in business, but it was on Hollywood Boulevard right near the Circle, and they used to eat dinner there all the time. And what the police authorities are going to be doing now is finding out who these guys were associated with, what they were doing in the days and weeks leading up to this attack. Initially, they thought that this might have been a crude IED.
Right.
And it turns out it's not that case at all. As they've got their hands on more and more of the pieces of the bombs that went off, they're finding they were pretty sophisticated. They did find a third device today.
Yeah. Where?
Outside of Boston proper. They haven't really identified it. It may have been on one of the suspects today, which might have been the reason why there was a lot of bomb squad activity around Waterton earlier, but they have not announced that. They also have not said what they found in the house in Cambridge, which it is believed might have been home base for the two suspects. It's, like I said, it's an incredibly fluid situation with very little answers and a tremendous amount of speculation.
Police reports that they were throwing bombs outside of the hijacked cars they stole.
They had pipe bombs.
Yeah, well, apparently what had taken place was they got themselves a lot of attention, and that's the part of this story that I don't get. They went underground, apparently, after the bombings. And who knows if they were closing in on them or not. Yes, last night about 5 o'clock, they put out the pictures to try to get the public's help in finding them and identifying them. But if you want to stay hidden, the last thing you want to do is rob a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And that is, and when I woke up this morning and I started piecing together what had taken place overnight, that's the thing that struck me as the most bizarre part of this whole story. These guys were very careful to not bring a lot of attention to themselves in carrying the devices, putting the devices in place, and leaving. Yes, they were picked up on surveillance cameras. You know, God bless Lord and Taylor for sticking a camera outside of their place on Boylston Street. But, you know, the interesting thing about this is it appears that they either panicked or they got very, very sloppy. What that tells me is they were part of a bigger operation, and they were the mechanisms for carrying it out. And they may not have been trained well enough on how to get away as easily as they were able to come into the whole situation.
No, you think, because you said trained, so you think that they're part of a larger outfit as opposed to, you know, individuals? Because it's certainly within the power of, you know, people keep talking about how sophisticated the explosives were. You know, okay, let's give him that, but was it so sophisticated that a couple of clever youths couldn't have figured out by themselves, or do you think that that's something that they were taught how to do? Because, you know, you and I, we're all pretty sophisticated over here to make that.
Yeah,
I mean, you can look up these bomb recipes online. The books have been out for years. You know, that whole anarchist cookbook and things. You can find out how to build a nuclear bomb online. You can search for that.
And I'm sure little Kim in North Korea knows all of those websites.
Sure, he's got them bookmarked.
Yeah, but if it was Al Qaeda, they would have been bragging about it by now.
And that's
Yes.
part of what's interesting about this is I don't think. Look, there are the big name terrorists like Al Qaeda, and the ones that are well funded and well known and like to do big splashy things. It appears. And look, I'm just drawing on, 25, 30 years of reporting experience on this. And I'm only speculating, but it appears that this had to have been done by a group of people. It could not have been done by these two. And I think that's why they're looking for more suspects. They took 2 people into custody. Not saying that they're arrests, just saying that they're in custody and that they're probably in for some type of questioning. That's why they stopped a train on its way to Connecticut this morning. That's why they have asked that the public stay indoors. Part of that is for the public safety. Part of that is if there is any kind of movement, it's a lot easier for them to track down a handful of people moving around the city than hundreds of thousands of people in a city like Boston. The concern in Watertown was that this guy is holding up someplace in a home, whether it is a house that he stormed when he was on the lam or a safe house that was already in the works. If he is like they reported his brother was, that he was wearing devices on his body.
Yeah.
If he gets into a firefight with the police, he could very easily, depending upon what's on him, it could be a lot more sophisticated and a lot more deadly than what happened on Monday. He could blow up a house, a city block, who knows what it is. Sure. And what also makes this situation really tense, and I think Suds asked the question, do you want him alive or dead? Well, if he decides he's got nothing to live for and he's completely surrounded and there's no way he's getting out of this thing alive, well,
yeah.
Depending upon what the motivation is on this, push a button and boom. Look, one of the interesting things is NBC this morning thought that they were going to do the majority of their show in West Texas because of that fertilizer plant blowing up. And when that thing blew up, it didn't just blow up the plant. It blew out pretty much the whole town.
Right.
And, I kind of semi-joked about how pissed Matt Lauer must be that he's sitting in West Texas and isn't a player in all of this.
Right.
But, if you think about it, that was the focus of their story is about a fertilizer plant blowing up, essentially an enormous, powerful bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And the deal in Boston and possibly in Watertown is they don't know what the deal is right now. They don't know what they're working with. They don't know how much explosives are on this guy. They don't know if he's alone. We do know that there was a number of handguns and long-range firearms that were on both of these guys, which brings up.
Hang on a second. We got to press. We got.
Since the bombings, 12 tweets.
This is either a repeat or somebody.
On Twitter page now saying, please turn yourself in.
Wait a minute. Because they're setting up microphones like they're going to make a statement.
It looks like they're getting ready. Chris Cuomo is here as well. It looks like they're getting ready for a little news conference over there with an update on what's going on. Maybe Deb Farrick has some more information. What are you picking up, Deb?
Well, no, right now we can tell you that it looks like a young man is being arrested. It's not clear. This is definitely not the suspect.
This is Deborah Farrick on the phone.
The guy that they're looking for, but he's a young man. He's got a backpack, a red hat, red baseball cap. He's got his hands on his head right now, and a state police officer has his hand on his shoulder, has his hand on the person's shoulder, the other hand on his firearm, and there's another state trooper who's also sort of standing guard. It could be just coincidental that this young guy was trying to walk towards an area that right now is being investigated. There's no, for example, wearing a backpack, but there's no sort of bomb squad. It just looks like this person was trying to get someplace where he shouldn't have been trying to get to, so they've stopped him, and right now he's just got his hands on his head, and he's just standing there with those two state police. Well,
I don't know what she's seeing because they're not showing it on CNN, so it's a good thing that you're
That's a pretty
using it on radio.
dramatic scene, Chris Cuomo, as we
No, I just went over to that. I switched channels when I heard you guys were on CNN. They got that overhead view from a helicopter. They've been flying over the scene for quite a while now. You saw looked like they were setting up a makeshift press conference. Who knows what the deal is? I think that this thing is going to continue to go on and on. What I think is going to be very interesting in the aftermath of all of this is the role that social media played in all of this. Mm-hmm. You know, when we all started in broadcasting years ago, it was a handful of news organizations, and that was it. But if you flash forward to what's going on now, a lot of the information that we get is through Facebook and Twitter and people with their own eyewitness accounts. I was in communication with people in Boston today that were not only seeing the national news, but the local news was covering things that the national news wasn't touching. So I think that we have gotten to the point where social media is going to play such a large role, not just in the way that we as individuals gather our information, but as news organizations go forward in how they gather their information. Now, that's a double-edged sword, because part of that is there'll be some things that are going to come to light that wouldn't have come to light if it was just a reporter with a microphone. The other part of it is there'll be a lot of information that's not relative or is not reliable.
Right.
And I know it looks like the mayor is going to step up.
Let's hear this.
When you're done. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Just a couple of points we want to make. Myself, the mayor, Colonel Albin, and the chief of the Watertown Police Force, Chief DeVoe. We're not going to be able to take questions. I'm sorry. I know you have many. First of all, we all want to thank the members of the public who have respected our request to stay indoors. We know what an inconvenience it is in Watertown and in Cambridge in particular, but really throughout the areas that we've asked for this. But it's been enormously important and helpful to the many in law enforcement who are trying to do their job. And we thank all of you for helping to get that message out. The stay indoor request continues for the time being. That is unchanged. There are continuing developments in the investigation, which we will be able to talk about, not now, but later. But it is important that folks remain indoors and not open the door, keep the doors locked and not open the door unless there is a uniformed, identified law enforcement officer on the other side of it requesting to come inside. I think that's all I want to offer, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you all for being with us today. Thank you for your patience. First of all, I'm proud of the work that the public safety officials done.
state police, the Boston police, National Guard, the local. I'm very proud of the work they've done the last several days. And also the citizens, public communities that are affected. The shelter is working.
Yeah, but wait a second.
Don't let anybody into your apartment or home unless it's going to be identified as a public safety.
Talking to the mic. Where's your producer?
And for the next few hours, we'll continue to
Are you
gather
sure?
information. That's the public safety's job. Our job is to make sure that the public safety is informed as best we can. We'll keep the
And you thought our mics were bad.
informed as we get the information.
He's saying
So be
something.
patient,
It looks
but,
like, I know we
I'm
can't
here
hear
to say
what the mayor is saying, but it looks like this house that's got some do not cross tape that's on the side screen, the left side on CNN. And it appears that this might be the house in Cambridge that they got into earlier today, and that was a place of interest. The reports were that it was a house that did not have anyone living in it, that it was an abandoned house.
Wow. A lot of that was a very selective microphone. It only picks up background noise.
Wow, look at that thing.
What word did you say?
Come on.
Good
Sound off.
afternoon, folks. Again, my name
He's
is
got
Timothy
gas.
Albin. I'm the Colonel Superintendent of the Massachusetts State Police. Now, I want to thank you for your patience. I know we said we'd be out here at 10:30, and we're obviously way behind, but it's indicative of the leads we continue to run down here. And things change. They change quickly, and sometimes we have to change direction. I want to begin by saying we are progressing through this neighborhood, going door to door, street to street. We're well over 60 or 70% of what we want to cover up there. We do not have any development to tell you in terms of that search up there. There has been no apprehension at this point. The second thing I want to talk about just briefly is this afternoon there will be a controlled explosion, if you will, by some of the explosive ordnance folks over in Cambridge. That's going to happen on Norfolk Street at a house that we have secured earlier today. It's done out of an abundance of caution.
Norfolk Street.
It's done for the safety of the law enforcement officials that are over there before they proceed with a search of that premises. So that will be happening this afternoon as well. Our plan at this point is we are going to continue with following up in that neighborhood. We've got several other new leads that just developed within the last few minutes, and we're working on that. And I will be back here, I hope, within an hour or slightly above that, to give you the next briefing. Should we have any development between now and then, I'll be back even sooner. So I want to turn it over to Chief DeVoe, please, from Watertown.
So thank you, Colonel. I want to thank the media for getting the word out. There's been a lot of heroic actions as you hear about the next few days. What happened last night and early this morning, and all over the last couple of days, as everybody knows. But I also want to speak to the Watertown community. You've done great. We've done everything we've asked. But we need some more time. You have to stay in your homes, stay in place. As the Colonel said, we still have some work to do. Even after we clear the area, there's a major crime scene down there that's going to take some time. But I've been assured to all the gentlemen behind me that they're not going to leave until the town is safe. So it may go today, tomorrow, and over the weekend before we have that whole crime scene under control. But the Watertown community has always stood strong, and I've asked them to do that this morning, and they've done terrific, and I want to thank them. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Boy, I don't envy their microphone. Look at all those microphones they have over there, and they all suck.
They all said thank you. And,
You're welcome.
So okay, there you go. That was the update. Continue, Bruce.
You know, I listened to that press conference, and they didn't say much of anything. I'm not even sure why they had it, because the police chief said that they were about 60 or 70% into their search. If that's the case, and again, if this 19-year-old suspect is in a home that was set up as a safe home, one of the things that he's probably doing is watching everything unfold on television. It's not like, every station in the world isn't covering this in some form or another. Having a press conference that might update him on what's going on seemed kind of strange to me. The other observation I had is we're both watching it on CNN right now, and above the CNN logo, they have a picture of the 19-year-old suspect, which looks like he's probably 18, 19 years old in the picture. He's staring straight ahead. To me, that looks like a mugshot. It looks like that came from something.
Yeah.
It didn't come from a.
I don't know.
I don't think
could
that
be a
came
yearbook
from
picture.
his high school yearbook.
It could be a visa.
Yeah,
it could be. It very well could be. But nobody. I saw that picture earlier. I think it was on Facebook. Somebody had posted it out of one of the news organizations in Boston, and it just struck me as kind of odd that they had that type of picture to put up. It's the same way that the kid in Newtown, after he had killed 26 people, they had a picture up of him looking straight into the camera. It's always bizarre to me that they have these types of pictures. But what was also interesting, beyond the fact that they really had nothing to say, was that they put up a graphic right before they ended that press conference that kind of outlined the timeline and how the movements of the suspects went. They started in Cambridge around the 7-Eleven. The officer was shot a little farther south, not too far away. It looked like they then traveled on foot back towards Boston proper, back towards where the explosions took place on Monday. They carjacked a vehicle. I believe it was a Mercedes, so these guys at least know to travel in class. Then started traveling over towards Watertown, released the owner of the vehicle, and continued on after the shootout, continued on to Watertown. So much of this story, like I said, is bizarre, and it's going to get more and more bizarre. And right now, everything on the television is being focused on Watertown. But what is going on in Boston is just about every one of the 2,100 officers on the Boston police force are on the job. And they are spread out everywhere, tracking down every lead, every clue, every little tidbit of information that is coming in. Then from there, you have all the different government agencies, not only from Massachusetts, but you also have a number of different federal authorities that are all over this story as well. Back in Washington, D.C., there are quite a number of justice officials that are meeting in the White House right now with the president, giving him constant updates. And don't think for a second that the Justice Department and the President of the United States are not involved in a lot of the decisions that are being made in the field right now in the various locations that we're not even privy to. We're just getting the highlights where CNN and NBC and Fox and everybody else has their reporters. But there are things going on in dozens and dozens of locations as they gather the information on this story.
Right on.
Quickly, I'd like to point out that before everybody goes Muslim hate crazy, that hasn't been established yet.
Nope.
And since they were Russian, it could be Russian Orthodox for all we know.
Indeed. And yeah, it could be any number of. I mean, even if they are Muslim, I mean, we've been through this before. We're not going to help the situation by throwing all the Muslims under the bus. Everybody's a member of some ethnic group, and everybody's got bad apples in their ethnic group, and just like the race baiting that happened almost immediately, and then there was I forget, somebody posted something on Facebook. Boy, Facebook has been great with this. Some Republican politician was on some talk show basically lumping Muslims and Hispanics all together. That basically anybody with brown skin ought to be suspect right now and should be round up and interrogated.
Wasn't Chechnya part of the Caucasian Wars?
They even sound the same. Yeah, they even sound the same is what this guy said.
Thank God for social media like Facebook and other avenues, because they're able to report to the masses the stupidity of the few.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about that Ted Cruz character out of Texas. This is a guy who's only been in office for a couple of months. The vote on Hurricane Sandy and relief to the victims comes up. He votes against it.
Right.
But within 24 hours of the explosion in West Texas at the fertilizer plant that I referenced earlier, he now wants full relief and support given to those folks.
Well, he's the best Canadian senator
know,
Texas can get.
Well, you know what? I think this really points out that so many of our elected officials have self-serving agendas. They're not there for the greater good. And when you can have people posting pictures and statements and documents that some of these officials do and say. I read something today, I think it was out of Arkansas, where a Republican state House member was telling something. He was talking about, I think it was small businesses in his area, and he said, yeah, people come into my store all the time and try to Jew me down. And then somebody pointed out that wasn't really a politically correct thing to say.
Yeah,
and he said, oh,
like
I
apologize. Mexicans wetbacks.
You know, the Jews are great small business people.
Right.
You know, unfortunately, we're going to have all of that. And unfortunately, and Boki, you bring up a really great point. We don't know what the agenda was on this, if there was any agenda at all,
right,
other than terror. And, you know, we have come a long way since 2001 when everybody was anti anybody that doesn't look like you.
Yep.
And I would hate to see that type of tension that we had in this country in 2001 be thrown completely out of whack because it turns out that these guys were part of some type of cell that had something to do with some type of religion.
Sure. I mean, it's a likely explanation. Maybe it's even the correct explanation. But if you're jumping to that conclusion right away, then that's a very bigoted thing to do.
Well, and not only that, it's just an ignorant thing to do.
Sure.
And for an elected official to throw the fuel on the fire, there's enough going on right now. There are enough people that are scared. I mean, let's think about this story from the peripheral. Over 1 million people are told to stay in their homes. If you are a young kid, elementary, middle school, and you are told you don't have to go to school today, you're thrilled about that.
Sure.
But then your next question is, Mommy, why am I going to school today? Or, you know, people that were supposed to go to the hospital or the doctor for procedures, and all of those things have been shut down. You know, how do you explain to little kids that this is what's going on and this is the concern? I mean, I have an 11-year-old. I have a 15-year-old. The information that they got was very different. My 11-year-old was watching it this morning. My 15-year-old was watching it before he went to school this morning.
Mm-hmm.
My 11-year-old, he just knows that there was an update during the evening. This story affects so many things. You know, look, I do sports on SoFloRadio.com. And I do my show Monday nights from 7 to 9. But the world is affected. You know, right now, we don't know if the Royals and the Red Sox are going to play at 7 o'clock tonight. My guess is there's no way in the world they are.
No, it was all canceled.
The Bruins and the Penguins are supposed to play at 7:10 at the Garden. That's not going to happen tonight. But life has completely shut down throughout the entire Boston area. I mean, if you think about it, life was going on in other parts of New York City after 2011. This is an area much, much larger than Manhattan that has basically been sequestered because of a manhunt for one individual. That is an unbelievable situation. I can't remember anything like that. And if you think about the coordination of all of the different police authorities that are involved in this, this is one of the most impressive displays of cooperation. And we all know that there's probably a lot of BS going on behind the scenes and power plays. But for the most part, this is one of the most coordinated police activities we may ever see in our lifetime.
Right. I've never been to Boston, but we were doing the other sports show, John Etch and the Sports Heads, here last night, and one of the co-hosts of that show is from Boston, so he was wearing all of his Boston gear and representing. And he explained that the layout of the city is such that when he explained it, you know, an old town that kept growing, you know, that they really weren't prepared for how big Boston was going to be. So it's very difficult to get in and out of the center of Boston. It's very slow work. So it's with traffic and cars and with people, it's very clusterfucky, if you will, towards the center of it. That kind of contributes to this situation. And in other words, he could be anywhere. It's quite it's a densely packed area that we're talking about over here, as opposed to something like where we are, which is all sprawled out.
No, there's no doubt. And also, Boston was started hundreds of years before South Florida. South Florida is just one big grid.
We started in the 50s.
You could put a helicopter above and pretty much be able to pinpoint. Boston has side streets and back alleys and waterways.
Narrow streets, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much more difficult. Not to mention, one of the things that made this particular situation that started last evening was the fact that it happened in pitch blackness. And you can move around much easier in the dark than you can in the day. And that gave these guys a lot of opportunity to move around. I still go back to this, and I'm curious about how you guys think about this. If these guys wanted to lay low, what exactly were they doing in a 7-Eleven?
They didn't want
I don't know.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know what they stole. It didn't say if they were trying to get some Twinkies that were hiding from when Hostess went out of business. I don't know if they were trying to get $50 out of the register. It just seems to me that if you're wearing explosives and you're carrying guns,
right,
and you have planned this attack, which it's not like they woke up on Saturday and said, hey, let's go and buy a couple of crock pots, throw a bunch of nails and BBs in them, and just take them over and see for kicks.
Well, my theory, since it's speculation is free and I'm as entitled as anyone. Here's my theory. The older brother was the mastermind and the driving force behind this operation. It was his plan, and it was his plan to go out in a blaze of glory, all 7-Eleven robbing and cop shooting and everything. And when he met with his demise, the younger brother, who didn't have the same drive or the balls, lost his courage and is running and hiding right now without his older brother to call the shots and bark the orders to the younger brother. The younger brother, just basically doesn't want to die and wants to get away at this point.
And I think there's a lot of validity to
and that's just based on nothing. That's just based on what we're seeing over here in the change of tactics. Because indeed, if the older brother, you're absolutely right. There seems to be a definite change of strategy now that the older brother is out of the picture, because they were not doing any kind of low profile. They weren't being low profile after this bombing. You're right about that. And there's no need to rob a 7-Eleven and go on a shooting spree if you wanted to just get away with it. If you wanted to slink out of Boston, put on a disguise, put on a fake beard, and and walk out via the back roads or something. Put on a sombrero so that the helicopters can't spot you.
Well, and not only that, if you want to go, if let's say for instance, they wanted to become martyrs, and they wanted to be killed by
they would have blown themselves up already if they wanted to become martyrs. I mean, that's how it's done over there, and people don't understand the culture of martyrism, which is an Eastern thing, not necessarily a Middle Eastern thing. Like the Japanese with their suicide, and the Buddhist monks that would set themselves on fire to protest the war. There's an Eastern thing to making a point by killing yourself, in order to do so. And if that's what these guys weren't suicide bombers, because they would have blown themselves up right there on the spot. Okay.
This was done as some kind of statement, and the more I start thinking about it, I do believe that they were part of some type of organization. Now, that organization could have been 3 people, it could have been 5 people, it could have been 10 people. For all we know, it could go all the way to some of the Russian republics. We don't know, and we probably won't know for a while. But they were trying to make some kind of statement. Whether it was we just want to terrorize in the United States, or there's a larger statement. What is interesting about this is that after it was executed, after they carried it out, there were no statements. There was no attention brought to what was done by
That's why I don't think it was a group.
Right.
We're We're going to find out.
If it had been, we're going to obviously, and that we're just speculating, but certainly in the past, if it had been a Middle Eastern group, they tend to kill themselves. And again, it's not just because to guarantee that the bomb is being delivered, it's a deliberate statement that they want to make to show the courage of their conviction. I mean, we think that it's batshit crazy, of course, and it is, but they don't see it that way. You know, you want to get into the minds of the people that are trying to do things to you. This seems to be more along the lines of, different, anti-American. It could be very much like the Columbine thing. These guys could have just been, assholes that were picked on, that went nuts. Like the Columbine kids. We don't know what, but it's certainly, here are the symptoms of Middle Eastern Al Qaeda type things. They usually blow themselves up, and usually within minutes, certainly by hours, within minutes of the event, somebody's doing a press release, taking credit for it, and bragging about it over there, and that hasn't happened.
And part of this is, let's say that this is a foreign organization of some kind that operated in the United States. Now, we know that there have been some of that has taken place in the United States, obviously the biggest one being 9/11. But this may not be a very sophisticated group. This may be a very small group that is looking to do something like this so that later on they can recruit and be bigger and bigger. And they might just not be as smart or as sophisticated. The uncle called these two guys losers. So, this isn't Al Qaeda. We know that it's not Al Qaeda, and it may not be guys that are as sophisticated or as financed or as organized as Al Qaeda. It might have just been a couple of guys that decided they wanted to become terrorists, and they were going to make a statement. And whether they lived or died, their organization, they believed, was going to grow bigger and bigger because of their actions. We don't know.
Bruce, thank you for your analysis and coverage of this, because it's a pleasure, and let me tell you why. During 9/11, what George especially George and I went through, dealing with sports guys
and all the people, they were laughing at us for trying to break away from the regular sports coverage to talk about the fact that we were being attacked by jumbo jets.
They didn't want to talk about it.
Joe Costello had to grab Greg Reed by his Armani lapels and shake him to get him to tell the guys to break away. And the quote from the sports department, and I don't know exactly who it was in that room, is, "Well, what are we going to say about it?
What are we going to do?"
Talk about a cop-out.
Meanwhile, it's on the overheads on the screens in the studio. They saw what was going on, and they talked about the hurricanes instead.
Well, and I appreciate that, guys. I really do. Look, I'm a sports guy by nature, but I am a hard news guy to the core. And I think
we like hard news.
What's that?
We're big fans of hard news here on SoFlo Radio.
Well, I realize that, but the visual of that is kind of disturbing.
Well, you're a hard. when you said you were a hard news guy, I'm trying to get that out of my mind over here.
Now, here's a sports question.
No, but the sports show that I try to do is not one that you'll typically hear on the radio. Most people want to call in and talk about the problem at right guard with the Miami Hurricanes or the Miami Dolphins, and I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about stories. I want to talk about things that really, really matter. Look, I have been one of the few journalists throughout the nation that will take on homosexuality in sports, and we did a show on February 11th. In which we blew out all the commercials. We had 5 guests, and we talked about homosexuality in sports. And the very next day, I wrote a column that was picked up by a number of different publications, including The Advocate, where I wrote and asked who homosexuality in sports, who's going to be the gay Jackie Robinson. You go back to what took place with Joe Paterno and Jerry Sandusky and all the work that I did on that, and the in-depth stories that I did. And one of the most memorable ones for me was the night that we tackled the Jerry Sandusky story from a standpoint of the sports angle, the university angle, and then also from the sexual angle and what was in the mind of Jerry Sandusky. And we also did it from the legal standpoint. You don't hear radio like that, with few exceptions. And to be able to do it on SoFlo Radio makes me very proud, And I appreciate the fact that SoFlo is the type of station that we can all do different types of broadcasting on.
That's right.
To entertain. And then when unfortunate stories like this take place, we can come together and do it the right way, where we're not afraid to break away from normal programming and talk about things that normally the station wouldn't do. And I think it just shows what the evolution of SoFlo Radio is. I think it shows what the future is going to be. And I think it shows that we are doing the type of radio that was done 20 and 30 years ago.
Sure. Well, I patterned this originally.
Really
Originally, after, because I learned about talk radio, or at least I learned what talk radio could be when I was at WIOD, and it was very dynamic, and all of the shows were different, and there were still conflicts with management. I tried to improve upon that model, but the original idea is that we would have a dynamic radio station hosted by local people, so that we would maintain a local perspective, not just local talk, but just this is just where the shows originate from. We have that commonality that's the perspective of South Floridians. Whatever is going on, we can comment on something that's going on the other side of the world, because everybody has something to say about everything. One of our many slogans is, we're not just about South Florida, we're just from South Florida. That's our only real commonality. And WIOD was very dynamic and would change, especially during Hurricane Andrew, where they doubled, and I keep saying they doubled their numbers, because we're not there anymore. During the Hurricane Andrew,
they're not there anymore.
Most of the shows, most of the shows on WIOD, certainly the daytime shows, were comedy oriented, light, fluffy stuff, shticklock, if you will. And we suspended all of that to do continuous coverage of not just the hurricane and the aftermath, but gouge reports, where you can find water, supplies, Visqueen, who's handing out canned food. We packed the conference room with family members volunteering to man phones. People were running up and down the halls, sharing information with the people that were on the air. And that's the kind of thing, exactly the kind of concept that I had for this place when we started. But also, in building upon that, this is a forum for the host, where management isn't going to interfere with what you want to talk about. Because certainly on a conventional sports station, the controversial subject that you were just talking about over there, management might want to weigh in on that, Bruce Silverman. Management might want to say, I don't know if that's the position the station wants to take on this particular issue, just for example. And you're not going to find any of that here. It's your time to do with what you want. If you want to pour gas on yourself and set yourself on fire in protest of the Vietnam War, we'll certainly promote that. So I'm glad that we have this place.
Swag.
And I'm glad that you're on the station. You're a fine addition to the station. And again, special kudos to JJ and Sam and Steve Captain Hook for doing a 5-hour coverage-a-thon of this from 7 this morning until all the way to noon over here. And I'm hoping that you can continue the coverage at 3 o'clock. I know it's 1 o'clock. We've been talking about this for an hour. I think we should take a break, because I need to take a break, a bathroom break, and get some more water. But I'd sure like to hand it over to you if you can pull that off at 3 o'clock. And then
we're just to let our listeners know what we're doing. We're attempting to put together a show from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock that I'll anchor. And hopefully we will put that off and put that together, and we'll still announce it in the next 2 hours. I would be remiss, guys, if I was not on SoFlo Radio and didn't give this update, so bear with me. Your daily Marlins update from the Silverman on Sports Desk.
Yes, please.
The 2013 Marlins are 3-13. The 1962 Mets were 3-13. Congratulations to Big and Little Enos down there that run the show for the Marlins. You right now have the worst team in the Major League, and you are on track to be the worst team in the history of Major League Baseball, and that is something that SoFlo can be proud of.
Thank you very much, Bruce, and please talk to the I don't know where you want. I don't know what you want to call her on there. And I hope we can do that, because JJ and Sam are going to pick it up at 4 o'clock again. A special edition of Post Time, which, assuming that this hasn't wrapped up by then, we're just going to keep talking about this until it does wrap up. That is.
And that's our game plan. So I'm out here right now at the Silverman on Sports studios, the Caddy Shack, if you will. I'm going to monitor this story. If things change beyond what we've talked about, I will give you a call back and update you live. In the meantime, I'm going to try to continue to work on that 3 to 4 story. George, Suds, Boca, I appreciate you guys inviting me onto your show to talk about this, and we'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully, as this whole thing plays out, that worst case scenario is the whole thing plays out, there will only be one more casualty.
Right on. Thank you, Bruce Silverman.
Thanks, Bruce.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
You bet. Don't forget, catch Silverman on sports every Monday from 7 to 9 on SoFloRadio.com. Oh, and you can hit that.
Terrestrial radio, they don't want us or yous around no more, so...
They hit us, so we hit them back.
SoFloRadio.com.
This is Randall Terry, former white trash drug addict, deadbeat fraud, and cult leader. Now recognized by Fox News as a respected spokesperson and community leader. I'd like to say a few words on behalf of my Operation Rescue You. We believe in our rights of taking everybody else's rights away. Now, if you've accepted Jesus in your heart, then you can help. With your love gift of $50 or more, I'll personally send you a list of baby-killing doctors to kill. You're free to do so with the law of Jesus on your side. Liberals annoying you with reason? Kill them. Someone not quite white and right? Kill them. Hell, if anyone at all ain't a miserable loser like me or you, all you got to do is kill them. And do the work of the Lord once you have accepted Jesus in your heart.
The Nicole Sandler Show, weekday mornings at 10 on the South Florida Radio Network.
CBC5 is the executive liaison for all your building compliance needs. Serving South Florida from the Palm Beaches to Key West, CBC5 delivers 5-star service that brings
what's this ABC, BDQ, whatever?
CBC5. It stands for Complete Building Compliance.
Well, I ain't building nothing, so what can they do for me?
Well, they do more than plan review and permitting. They help the little guy cut through red tape.
I got duct tape holding together my carport.
Well, CBC5 can help. Let them deal with bureaucrats. They helped George Rodriguez solve a sewer lateral problem, and they saved him a ton of money and hassles.
By City Hall, who can do that?
CBC5 can do that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a commercial to finish. Contact Shoddy the Hottie at CBC5, 786-255-3851, or log on to cbc5.net. That's cbc5.net.
SoFloRadio.com. Give us a call at 954-99-00036. Mobile users call 954-990-0036. And Skype name SoFlo Radio.
Tonight, Fox News presents an expose on the Chicago-based radical group of gay meteorologists in the early 1970s, known as the Weather Underground.
Hail, sisters. Check out my high-pressure ridge south of my border. Oh, ain't that the perfect storm?
It's raining men.
We're doing fine now on Cloud 9. And these to a light shot.
What do you mean by that?
Huh?
Ain't no thieves in Chicago.
I know, honey, but I hear other weathermen say it.
What's that mean anyway?
I don't know, honey. Light shot hooey and Hong Kong fooey.
It's raining men.
Discover the truth behind Barack Hussein Obama's involvement with the Weather Underground.
Gay weathermen who go underground.
Who's that kid you were telling me about?
Oh, that little sweetie with the silly name. Barack O'Reilly or something.
Ain't he too young to be playing with the pointer?
Oh, nothing like that, sugar. He just wants me to teach him how to write backwards. Who knows? He may grow up to be president someday.
Yeah, right.
The Weather Underground, or Underground Weather, exposed. Only on fairly unbalanced Fox News.
The Big 8 Golden 77 WABC in New York.
Hold your knees and clench your teeth in fright. We're invaded by the moon and night.
We are Moonanites.
Superman might save the day. Silver Surfer, he's too gay. What's being town, that filthy city, gonna do? Get the tick and Futurama's bright to protect us from the moon and night.
We are the Moonanites.
We've got aliens at large with names like Bart and Marge. We're being conquered by cartoons. Beantown's got problems, mental problems, must overcome their fear of cartoons. You can defend us with the help of Roger the Alien and Underdog. If SpongeBob can make the Christians cry, Boston must be scared of Family Guy. Drawn together they can win against invaders in. There's not a lot that you can do in a city that's run by fools. No, it isn't very pretty when a city gets the willies from a cartoon.
We are the Moonanites, and our culture is advanced beyond all that you can possibly comprehend with 100% of your brain.
Well, whatever helps you sleep at night, bitch.
A golden sphere with wonderful WQAM in Miami.
In the land where we were born, we get one loaf of bread and one TV. Life was bland and we were bored. That's why we all signed up to sail the sea. There's no call for anymore. Fearless leader must keep us busy. But now we run the ocean floor in a Russian submarine. We all died in the Russian submarine. Russian submarine. Russian submarine. We all died in the Russian submarine. Russian submarine. Russian submarine. As we lie beneath the waves with rigor mortis and decay, hear the motherland band play. We all died in the Russian submarine. Russian submarine. Russian submarine. We all died in the Russian submarine. Russian submarine. Russian submarine.
Run silent, run deep.
We are losing power, Captain. Look there, we have to
Yet, not yet. Try again.
They're not working, Captain.
Boost be sabotaged by Moose and Square.
There is nothing more that we can do. As our comrades all turn blue. Without oxygen to breathe.
We can't breathe.
In a Russian submarine. We all died in a Russian submarine. Russian submarine. Russian submarine. We all died in a Russian submarine. Russian submarine. Russian submarine.
You're an insensitive prick, Boca Brit. You're a chick with an insensitive prick. I mean, at least that's the story that I heard.
I'll accept that.
Oh, that every time I meet a Russian, I have to play the Russian submarine thing. We're very technologically advanced here in the SoFlo Radio studios. I have clouded us 3 different ways, as you know. So now from my phone, I can access any computer file that's on that hard drive that you have right there. So I can play bits from my phone wherever I'm at, and I really like to regale the Russians with that. Before this went on, I had what was it, like 3 weeks a month since we've done a show, so I always have a backlog of notes and things to talk about. But I want to put this to the top of the list right away because I've forgotten how unctuous, to quote Uncle Neil, I forgot how angry this woman makes me in very short order. And she makes me angry because of her level of anger and melodrama and affectedness. And that is Jane Velez Mitchell, the shrillest human being on the planet. She's
not familiar.
Well,
Oh, is
allow
she on
me.
there?
Allow me. That's why I changed it. Well, in Jodi Arias. I'm sick of Jodi Arias. You know, the only reason that we're talking about Jodi Arias is that she's kind of cute. She's got them, those rich lips, those thick lips.
What did she do?
She killed her husband. She shot him and then she stabbed him like 40 some times and said it was in self-defense.
She stood her ground. Was she in Florida?
I don't think so, man. That's why
that's
she's
too
on trial.
bad. She would have got
And
off.
the doctor, and they were, she's saying, oh, well, he was abusive and he was attacking me at the time, and that's why I had to stab him so many times. I stabbed him until he stopped attacking me. And then that's after I shot him, of course, and incapacitated him so that I could stab him up.
She made sure
So
that
I
he
could
stopped.
stab the fun out of him. Jane Velez Mitchell is she's brown-skinned, she's a hispanoid, and she's a lesbian. And her big issue, before we get into her delivery, her big thing that, for all I know, she has her own show. And the wife, remember back when I was living at home, I would talk about how my wife puts shows on just deliberately to aggravate me, like Greta Von Susteren, and she likes a lot of
Criminal
courtroom stuff,
Minds.
and Lisa Bloom, and just every obnoxious person that's on your TV, the wife likes to put it on. Thank goodness that she's left of center, or she'd be putting it on Rush Limbaugh and Bill O'Reilly just to piss me off, just on the long list of things that she would do to piss me off on purpose, to drive me out of the house, apparently. She finally figured out what works. More on that later when the divorce is finalized. Oh, the story.
But first.
Oh, the story. But first, Jane Velez Mitchell. This woman, her big beef, her big agenda is that men are horrible, and the only thing that she cares about in the world, at least to hear her talk, the only thing that she cares about is violence against women committed by men.
Okay.
Okay? Not violence against men committed by men, not violence, but women and children. The violence committed against women and children to a lesser extent at the hands of men. Men are scum. Men are pigs. Men are pieces of shit. And that's the only thing that is happening in the world. And that is the only thing that's wrong with the world, according to Jane Velez Mitchell, to hear her talk, because it's the only thing that she gets excited about. And she flaps her arm and screeches and spittle goes flying out of her mouth when it comes to the violence that women endure at the hands of men, which is horrible and wrong. And certainly, as the father of 2 female children, as the foster father of another child, another female child, and as the uncle of 7 nieces, I am also very concerned with women becoming victims of violence at the hands of men, women, out-of-control robots, alien invaders, rabid grizzly bears, natural disasters, lightning, asteroid impact, or whatever the fuck, Jane. But she hates men, and it's a seething hatred that you can see in her eyes, and her mouth gets all twisted, and she shrieks and she screams, and the violence against women at the hands of men! Yeah! Your performance, Jane Velez Mitchell, you're taking a man who would stand in between a rabid grizzly and any random woman, or even Boca as a random woman, and I would stand and defend any lady against the onslaught of a rabid grizzly bear. But your behavior makes me hate you and women who talk like you, Jane Velez Mitchell. Your behavior makes me want to pick you up and throw you into a rabid grizzly bear. Your behavior makes men hate women. Do you understand that, bitch? Your behavior is not helping the agenda that you claim to have, which is a common theme. Maybe we'll make that the theme of the show. People who produce the opposite of their goal by their behavior or by their tactics. People who have an agenda or a proclaimed agenda. People who have a goal or a desire or a wish, and then through their speech and through their actions actually accomplish the opposite of what they're trying to accomplish. We could go on and on with examples like that. I put it on here so that you could see Jane Velez Mitchell, but obviously they're done screeching. And they're done doing the continuous coverage of the Boston thing. CNN is now showing commercials, so obviously there's a lull in the action. And that,
as Charles Nelson Riley would say.
And
I just want to point out to the audience real quick that the Boca Show will not be on this week. It'll be a rerun because Stuff's on vacation. So to all three of my listeners, I'm here now.
Yeah. I don't understand that. So if Duff goes on vacation,
There's
you
no
go on
one to
vacation? Is that
There's no one to load. He takes his load and goes on vacation. It's all part of the modern world of radio broadcasting.
I can't come up. I can't get the. One moment, please. When Duff goes on vacation, Boca goes on vacation. Not a coincidence that that's the Dragnet drop over there.
Oh, that bit coming up, Dragnets.
So fuck you, Jane Velez Mitchell, for generating the opposite sentiment that you want to generate. Stop, and because this, like the National Organization for Women, and I go all the way back to that. And I'm as pro woman as a guy can get. I'm totally pro women's rights, big time, as a guy can get. But when I hear women being sexist, or at least sounding like they're sexist, when I hear women painting all men and mankind with the same broad brush, with the broad brush, you look like you've been painted with a broad brush.
Like I'm a broad.
So it hurts my feelings, Jane. You're hurting my feelings because you know men are also victims of crime. Men become victimized also by men and women. You know, here we got the Jodi Arias case. Sometimes, and I know that it's very disproportional, but it just so happens occasionally that a man is a victim of a woman and also, a violent victim of a woman. But your attitude, you act like it'll never happen. You act like that's not a non-issue.
Seems she's bitter about something.
She's a lesbian, and that's great, and that's fine. We agree. See, I agree with all the lesbians. Penises are yucky, and vaginas are awesome. So we agree. We got nothing to argue about, Jane Velez Mitchell. But your attitude towards men is a huge turnoff. My feelings are hurt by it, and you're not doing yourself or women or women's groups or women's issues, you're not doing them a favor with your shrill, shrieking, nasty, anti-man. I can't say misogyn. Wait. I can't say misanthropic. What do you?
Very
know?
good.
She's misanthrope.
Yeah, because I've always disagreed with
because that means mankind.
Misogynist, because it's confusing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like a nice massage.
It just makes more sense. It's a logical way.
Let me massage your ego. Well, I'm a certified misogynist.
In fact, there's a whorehouse I pass on Atlantic Boulevard where it says massages and facials. Right on the front.
There's a place on the way to and from the roller rink. They have I call it Business House Row, in between just east of 441 over here on Sheridan. They have all these houses that face Sheridan, and obviously they're homes, but they've been rezoned, so most of them have business signs out front. Like tax office and this. And one of the businesses is all Asian massage. Right. And I'm thinking, as a Caucasian, can I go in there?
Sure.
'Cause I'm not an Asian. I'm a Caucasian.
You put the cock in Caucasian.
No, I didn't.
Well, you're trying to find your caucus.
I did. And babies came out. So, speaking of generating the opposite of what you want to do, remember, like the last time that Suds was here, I laid out what I thought, and I got a lot of compliments. I got some emails and some Facebook messages and even some texts from people that like my approach to the gun problem in America, because I believe, and I only have history to cite, that prohibition policies produce the opposite effect of what you're trying to do. When it comes to, for example, the prohibition of alcohol did not eliminate alcohol from our society. It only enriched the men willing to provide the alcohol, despite with the law. The war on drugs. Look at how successful that has been. Yeah. We as an American people want to eliminate or reduce the amount of drug use and consumption in our society. So we passed laws against it, and as you can see, there's nobody's using drugs anymore. Nobody's buying, selling, or using drugs anymore as a result of it.
So your phone has a drop of Redsin?
You're welcome.
It's Ryzen.
That's
it's Ryzen.
A drop of Ryzen?
That's right. It's Pisen, called Ryzen. From the makers of AIDS Diet Candy. By the way, I want to be reactionary because anytime that there's gun violence to the degree that it makes the news, the people that are afraid of guns want to increase gun control legislation and or eliminate guns from our society in order to prevent that kind of tragedy from happening again, right? Like Columbine, right? This is the normal American reaction. There's a shooting. There's a mass shooting. Somebody with gun or guns shoots plural people. The answer is we need to control the guns. We need to take the guns away from people. We need to eliminate guns from our society so that this won't happen again. To that end, I submit that since Tim McVeigh used motor oil and fertilizer to blow up the Oklahoma City building, that we make fertilizer illegal right away. Because look at the West Texas. Look what happened, a fertilizer plant. I have been campaigning against fertilizer for years. Ever since the Oklahoma City bombings, I have been staging a one-man campaign to make fertilizer illegal in the United States of America, and no one would listen to me. And see this here? See this? A whole town kablooey because of fertilizer, and no one wants to listen to me. And now, because my mother, and this is, I shit you not, my mother exploded a pressure cooker. This happened. Of course, my mother also exploded 5 eggs in the microwave on non-consecutive occasions. My mother would argue physics with me. She would put an egg in the microwave, and it would blow up. Do we have an explosion sound effect? Because I can't find it over here. That's not it. It's a different kind of explosion. I don't have an explosion sound effect over here. I have exploding balls. Where is it?
I'm still surfing my way through the...
You're going down.
The explosion will be of extraordinary magnitude.
That's it. But where's the kaboom, the earth-shattering kaboom explosion?
It's GAN. Oh, no. Here it is. Here's a good one.
Oh. What's that called?
Bomb and debris.
Oh, no wonder I can't find it. I might have that in here. Bomb and debris. There's bomb in my shoe. There's bomb their ass. Car bomb with voiceover sound effects. What? I gotta hear that. Oh, I can't find bomb and debris. Bomb and debris. I got the bomb. Tic-tac bomb? Whoa. Here we go. That's a long TikTok. So my mother blew up an egg in the microwave once upon a time, and I tried to explain physics to her, to no avail. I said, Ma, an egg is a contained structure. You cannot boil the inside of a contained structure without it exploding. And she argued with me. She sounded like Ileana Ross Layton, you know, my mom. She would say that she's microwaved dozens of eggs and never had a problem with it. Watch, I'll show you when she proceeds to put another egg in the microwave and blows it up. At last count, at least in my presence, while I was at the house with her, my mother detonated 5 eggs. But that wasn't her biggest trick, because my mom, there's no such thing as too much. If she wasn't old and incapacitated in an old folks home in Little Havana right now, she would still be blowing things up. Thank you.
Don't forget the hubcap. Where'd it go?
Wait for it. Oh, wait. Where's the little jingle?
I thought that was the one with
I thought that one. Maybe
one
not.
more time.
Let's try it.
Should be a hubcap.
Oh,
it's gone.
It's gone. Well, we got to get a new one there. That's
I got it.
It's not good without the little tinkle at the end there. So anyway, my mother was cooking black beans, as Cubans are wont to do. And she overloaded the pressure cooker. She's using a pressure cooker. I don't know about you, but I enjoy the soothing sounds of the pressure cooker.
Yeah. Never used one.
So she overloaded it. Oh, man, for like pot roast or something.
Yeah.
If you want some like tender meat. Yeah. Pot roast.
Brisket?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
brisket
Oh, my God. Because you know the whole concept behind the pressure cooker, it isn't a big deal, those of us who are close to sea level right here, but water's boiling point is affected by what level you're at. So at low pressure areas, like if you go to Denver, the water boils at a much lower temperature. It needs to get to a certain heat level to cook things properly. And some food, so the pressure cooker because the contents are under pressure, it gets much hotter on the inside than you can get it just by allowing it to boil.
And there's no release for it?
There is. There are two releases for it, actually. For that little sound that you hear. You've been in the presence of one? Here, let me, the anatomy of a pressure cooker. A pressure cooker, the pressure cooker lid, locks on tight and creates an airtight seal.
Okay.
And then there are two holes on top of the pressure cooker. The main hole in the middle of it, you have the little weight that goes on top of that, and the steam escapes slowly through that, and the thing rocks back and forth and makes that sound, that as the steam is escaping, and but that weight keeps the steam from just blowing out of it. You want the contents to be under pressure, but that is the safety. That is the safety valve, because if the contents get too much under pressure, that little weight on top will pop off, and the steam will escape through the main hole in the top of it.
Okay.
That little weight keeps the pressure at a stable, whatever pressure that pressure cooker is supposed to maintain. It keeps it there. Excess pressure will bleed away. That's the sound of the steam bleeding away. Not enough pressure that won't make any sound at all. Now, there's another manual release that's like a little button that you grab a butter knife or something and you press on that, and you can release all the steam all at the same time, or you can just pull the weight off the top. Be careful, it's hot steam, it'll burn you. It'll scald you. Excuse me, let me use the right terminology. It'll scald you. But if those two little escape ports become blocked, well, use your imagination.
So that's how they did the bombs.
They
blocked
no, I'll tell you. Get the sound effect ready. So what my mother did is she put too many beans in the pressure cooker. Beans, as you know, while they cook, they expand. They expanded right up to the lid, whereupon they blocked both of the holes.
Okay.
Steam and pressure continued to build inside the pressure cooker. I'm in the family room, minding my business, watching reruns of Leave It to Beaver or something like that. Whereupon I hear a earth-shattering. I leap out of my seat like Sylvester the Cat with nails on the ceiling kind of thing. I mean, and it was an explosion. An earth-shattering kaboom explosion. Of course, my mother at the other end of the house, I hear her screaming, and I don't think anything at the moment, because my mother, if my mother saw a cockroach, she would do that. The I thing. She sounded like that, like the I lady.
Oh yeah.
That reporter.
That would be DCS.
Yeah. While I'm doing a search. Where is that? Oh, is it? It's all one. I should know how this is spelled because I'm the one that put it in there. Of course, it's not there. Yeah, that. My mom will screech like that over anything. So I hear her screaming like that from the other end of the house, and I'm thinking, I don't know what that was. Did an asteroid hit us? Did one of those big chunks of bathroom ice from a jet? Remember that? That story that there's a leak in the toilet and the blue liquid congeals on the outside of the jet until it gets so big and it falls off.
Setup you have here.
Yeah. So I don't know what the hell that explosion was. Did a car come driving through the living room? My mom is screaming. I hear an explosion. I run into the kitchen was like the bridge. Like the bridge of a ship was like the bridge of the house separating my side of the house from her side of the house. I run in to go see what it was, and I enter the kitchen immediately. The whole kitchen is like black, more like purple, because black bean juice is kind of purple. Black bean juice everywhere. The pressure cooker in shards, ripped open metal everywhere. All kinds of shrapnel damage to the kitchen.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, nice. And my mom's screaming because she's all freaked out, and she comes, running into the kitchen. Get my dog! Get my dog! Get my dog! Get my dog! Right. And I put it together immediately, and I said, the pressure cooker exploded. This is a conversation I'm having with her in Spanish, and it's quite hysterical. But I'm toning it down and translating it for the sake of the audience over here. And I told the pressure cooker exploded. Obviously, look, here it is in pieces. Oh, how can that happen? How can that happen? Mr. Science that I am, I say, obviously, you put too much food in there, Ma. And she starts arguing with me again, like she did about the eggs. Oh no, I did the same thing that I always do. If you had done, think about that. If you had done this on a previous occasion, you would have exploded the pressure cooker then, but you didn't. You exploded it this time. And that's just my pressure cooker story. Growing up and just being alive in this world, I've heard lots of people tell stories about how the pressure cooker exploded. for one reason or another. It was defective, same thing, put too much food in it. They're very dangerous, actually. So my campaign to eliminate fertilizer is actually predated by my campaign to eliminate pressure cookers as dangerous devices. Because, see, if there weren't pressure cookers in the world, these two assholes would not have been able to blow up the marathon. You see?
Right.
And if there were no such thing as fertilizer, if fertilizer were illegal, then Tim McVeigh would not have been able to build that farmer's stump bomb that he used to blow up the Oklahoma City Federal building.
I was going to mention about Tim McVeigh, if you recall, how they nailed him.
But he was driving out of town, and
which is just a traffic violation.
It was a traffic violation because he's stupid.
Yeah, well.
So I'm not the kind of person that wants to blame things, and I'm being very sarcastic. I don't want to blame pressure cookers and fertilizer or even guns for the stupid shit that people do with them. And the fact that this gun legislation did not pass, and I was talking to Boca before the show, because the last time that we did a show and Suds was here, I was laying out my plan for eliminating, if not reducing, the number of guns in the American landscape, or on the American landscape, however you want to put it, in America. And I suggested that prohibition policies are not going to work. They're going to produce the opposite effect. Every time, what happened when the legislature was introduced in the first place is there was a run on all the gun shops, and there was a run on all the gun shows. And you know who the biggest sales increased, the segment of the population? Women. Sales among women increased 73% just when this legislation got introduced. Just because people, and let's just call them stupid people, thought that they weren't going to be able to buy guns anymore. And so they went and started stockpiling guns. And nobody would listen to me. They said, you're not going to produce the effect that you want to produce. And, by the way, you're going to fail. And it's not just because of the NRA. We can put most of the blame on the NRA. But it's going to fail because the American people, even though the majority of the American people believed in this legislation, and the majority of American people, including and especially the gun owners, believe that there ought to be background checks. Most of the American people, including the American people that own guns and feel that it is their right to own guns, believe that there ought to be background checks to keep the guns out of the hands of criminals and crazy people.
The gun owners I know want background checks.
Want background checks. As a matter of fact, everyone I know wants background checks. I don't know anyone. I haven't, if I know you, I don't know that about you. I don't personally know anyone who thinks that there ought not be background checks when you purchase a gun. And indeed, that is just a logical thing. They background check you when you open a bank account. They background check you when you want to get a driver's license. Somebody posted something on Facebook, it's more difficult to get a library card than it is to get a gun. And that's just silly.
The Republicans want background checks for voters.
They want background checks for voters, for the voter fraud that doesn't really exist.
Right.
Although when it does exist, they're the ones that are doing it.
Exactly. They invented it.
Really, I know. So you're not. This is the effect. I normally, like, the people left of center and the Democratic Party, I usually attribute them with the party of logic. Usually when arguments and differences of opinion occur, it is those people, it is the people left of center that I hear speaking pragmatically and logically and rationally about why we want certain policies. But then when it comes to this particular thing, I hear a lot of irrational talk and a lot of irrational expectations, starting with how let me lay this on you, people who are left of center. You're not gonna do anything. You can't win this one. You're not gonna get what you want on this. It's part of the American landscape. It's ingrained in the culture. You're not gonna win, but what you are going to do is you are going to lose public support to the people on the other side, because this is an issue, unlike many of the other issues where you could win, like health care, which almost everyone agrees that we need health care. When you say guns, some people will say, yes, we have a right to own guns, and some people will say, no, we don't, and, blah, 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 and an argument ensues. But when you bring up health care, everyone knows that you need health care. If everybody in America has a gun, you might become a victim of gun violence, or you might not. But everyone in America needs health care, without exception. If you're healthy now, God bless you and congratulations, but there's going to come a day when you're going to get sick. You're going to get old. Something's going to happen. You're going to develop something, cancer, IBS, rheumatism. Something is going to afflict you, and you're going to need health care. Without exception, you're going to need health care. So the people left of center could have taken the same amount of time, the same amount of money, and campaigned for something that they have a chance of passing. And when they're talking about health care, when the Democrats are talking about health care or talking about labor laws, laws that benefit the working class, Middle America is on their side. Middle America rallies around that. That's something that you actually have a chance of passing. Workers' rights, health care reform. You actually have a chance of passing that. But Middle America believes in gun ownership. And so whenever you just taking the posture, just making the statement, just uttering the words in your campaign is a death sentence, is a political third rail. And they don't want to admit that. Yeah, there are a lot of people that will rally around your cry if you say that you want responsible. Just the rhetoric wigs people out and sends a large segment of the American population running in the other direction. And the NRA, forget what they started out as, a gun safety education group. Because just like the Republican Party, the party of Abraham Lincoln, they got taken over and corrupted, and now see here, and now this here.
Yeah.
The Republican Party used to be very progressive. The Republican Party, go Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt created the national parks. Conservative stood for conservation. We want to conserve our resources. We don't want to use them up.
Goldwater.
Right.
Pro-gays in the military.
Right.
He said, I don't care if who's straight as long as they can shoot straight.
So any group, amen, any group, regardless of their benevolent and benign origins, can be taken over and corrupted by an evil influence. Now, the National Rifle Association, which started out as a gun safety education group, and their position from their inception was for responsible gun ownership and included background checks. And the statement from their first president was, of course there ought to be background checks for people. But this became a group that people on the right saw that they could exploit to their own ends. And the gun issue for that group is just a MacGuffin anymore. The gun issue for that group is just the bait, is just the rallying cry that they use to get the people, their members, to donate money under the guise that we're protecting your rights as gun owners, so give us money. We're protecting your rights as gun owners, so give us money. And then when the NRA gets that money, they fund right-wing politicians that promote right-wing agendas, which is no health care, no workers' rights, no funds for teachers, no funds for police, right?
Yeah, nothing.
And if they didn't have that carrot on a stick, if the NRA did not have that carrot to dangle out in front of people, they would have nothing. You understand? The NRA, you could replace the NRA with a group called Democrats Want to Release Wild Tigers Onto the Streets of America. It's not true, but a bunch of inbred rednecks would believe that. If Rush Limbaugh said, well, the Democrats want to release wild tigers into the streets of America, so I'm going to start a foundation to prevent the Democrats from releasing tigers fund. Send your checks to prevent the Democrats from releasing tigers onto the streets of America.
Not all that different from what he says every day.
Of course. And then of course during Democrat candidate A, let's say Democratic candidate Bill is holding a press conference, and here's one of the plants. Here's one of the fake reporters in the crowd saying, "Why do you want to release tigers onto the streets of America?" We don't. Well, what's your position on the Democrats wanting to release tigers onto the streets of America? Well,
their response is usually, well,
let me ask you this. Do you believe that all the tigers, do you believe that the tigers should be eliminated from the face of the earth? No, the tiger's a beautiful creature. You see? He wants to release tigers onto the face of American streets and kill all the Americans. And they'll use that fake issue as a rallying cry to raise funds and to fund right-wing politicians. And the only way that the Democrats would be able to fight such a campaign of lies is to stand up there and say, we're not going to release tigers. Here, I'm bringing a tiger up on stage with me, and I'm going to shoot it in the head. Boom! You see there? I hate motherfucking tigers. There.
You have just broken down the inner workings of terrestrial radio today.
Right. So it's a scam. The NRA doesn't give a fuck about guns or gun ownership. They use that as a scare tactic to collect money for right-wing politicians so that the right-wing politicians can pursue the real agenda, which is not to keep the American people armed and dangerous. The real agenda is to keep the American people broke and stupid. That is their agenda, is to continue funneling money from middle America's pockets into their already overflowing coffers.
Like Ted, I'll bet you didn't know I grew up in Toronto, Cruz.
No. Who grew up in Toronto?
Ted Cruz.
I don't know who that is.
The right-wing nut from Tuckus, from Texas.
Oh, that guy.
The guy,
He's
the
all
guy,
over
if
Facebook
he shaved
right now.
his head and became a drunk, he'd look like Joe McCarthy. The thing that pissed me off about that vote the other day wasn't so much the legislation, the way it was written. It would have done nothing.
It would have done nothing. Well, the Saturday Night Live sketch. Did you see the Saturday Night Live sketch about it?
Yes.
And
they were on target
right on.
with that. But it was more of a kind of a sense of closure for the people that were affected by that. That's what it was. It was symbolic more than anything else.
Exactly.
And
my point exactly. You're not even going to pass a symbolic bill. You're not going to stop it already. If the Democrat wants to get elected, if they want to disempower the NRA, all right? If you are a left of center candidate and you want to win a campaign, you've got to overcome an obstacle. The NRA. They're going to be campaigning against you. They're going to be supporting your opponent. And we have way more important issues like healthcare and workers' rights and funding our school systems. Way more important issues than whether or not we make any impact at all on gun ownership and the rules that govern gun ownership in America. There are way more important issues than the gun ownership issue. Let's scale. The gun deaths was number 10 on the list of things that kill Americans. You know, the number one thing that kills Americans is heart disease, and the number one cause of heart disease is sugar and cigarettes. So let's make those things illegal, Boca Brett.
it's not about making them illegal.
I
It's
know.
like you said.
But
It's education, number one.
Right. Oh, well,
And
that's...
second, first of all, you see Daily Show last night?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent
no,
point.
I recorded that.
You've got grand larceny, you got grand theft. Why? People still steal.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop it, but why are those laws in place?
Right. I don't know.
I don't know, just for something.
Well, it's like now you're getting me started because the whole thing like the hate crime laws. I hate crime laws.
Hate them.
I hate them because if let's say that you got mugged and somebody you got purse snatched. Let's say somebody hit you over the head and stole your purse
and then pulled my hair
and then pulled
stole my Frigidaire
and then pulled your purse. You could accuse them of a hate crime.
Yeah.
But then it turns out, it's like, oh no, you don't understand that I'm transgender too. So then, no, it's not a hate crime. It's just a regular crime. If somebody murders you, like Neil used to say, if somebody kills you by this method or this other method, you're just as dead. If somebody robs your house or steals from you or beats you up because they think you're an asshole, it's just as bad as beating you up because you're a spick or a tranny or whatever.
The laws are on the books to be selectively manipulated.
Oy.
It depends on, like I said.
I hate those laws. Education, it's the only way, and this is the ironic thing. The NRA was founded to promote gun education, gun safety through gun education. When I took my hunter safety course so that I could be a hunter in Montana. Hey, shout out. Hey, Tracy, how you doing? Had a Skype conversation with my
I wanted to ask you
friend
about
Tracy
that, but go ahead.
Mandatory hunter safety class, which was very serious. You know how I like to crack wise. Well, that was the wrong place. That was the wrong place for me to open up a clown mouth. I almost got kicked out of the class by making.
Wise,
But
eh?
yeah, I'm a wise cracker. So, very, very serious. They took it very seriously. There's like, I said something that made the class laugh, and boy, did I get taken to task. There's nothing funny going on in this class. This is serious. You could get killed. You could die if you don't listen to what we're telling you right now. You could get killed. You could kill one of your friends. This is no laughing matter. There's no joke. One more, and you're out of here. Then good luck getting your hunter's license. I'm sorry, mister. I'm sorry, mister. I'll stop being witty and clever. It's just automatic with me, you know. But they took it very seriously. And I got to say, I commend them for that. Because, you got a bunch of teenagers. Got a bunch of kids and teenagers there in the class. And And the instructor wanted this material to be taken seriously. And, point number one, there's no such thing as an unloaded gun. There's no such thing as a gun that isn't dangerous, even when the gun's taken apart. No such thing as a gun that isn't dangerous. I mean, that was the theme of the class, is guns are dangerous, guns are dangerous, guns are dangerous. You do not play with these things. You do not point these things. You do not, break nuts, crack walnuts with the handle of these things. You do, just deadly serious before you could get my patch and my certificate. And of course, this class was funded and sponsored by the NRA. And that's what they were supposed to be doing, but they got taken over. They're a political organization now, not a gun safety education organization. So I find it very ironic that the first line of defense, our best hope to reduce gun violence in America is education. And I really believe that it ought to be in schools. I really believe that because I hear this kind of rhetoric. Well, I don't ever plan to own a gun, and therefore I don't need to know about guns. Yeah, you do. If you don't ever plan to own or drive a car, you still ought to know about cars so that you can look both ways before crossing. You still ought to know what a car is capable of. I think that gun education ought to be mandatory because first of all, you're not going to know. You say, "Oh, I don't plan to own any guns," but you might change your mind later on. When maybe you don't plan to own any guns, but what about because there's so many goddamn guns in America? What if you find yourself in a place where there is a gun and you don't know what the hell to do with it? What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to pick it up with a pencil. You're going to fire it that way, asshole. I want to get this gun off my table. Somebody came visiting and they left their loaded gun all cocked and loaded on my table.
You said cocked.
Yes. So I'm going to remove it from my table. Well, you're going to blow your foot off or your head off or something if you don't know how to handle it. If you don't know at least the difference, between a gun that's ready to fire and a gun that's at least, in safe mode, relative safe mode. Because it's just like wearing a condom. There's no such thing as safe sex. It's only safer sex. There's no such thing as safe gun. There's just safer gun. You ought to know enough about guns to be able to tell if a gun is loaded, if the hammer's cocked, and what the deal is with it, and how to approach a gun safely and how to handle it safely. Even if you don't plan on owning one, you're gonna encounter one because we live in the wild, wild west.
And so you can't approach a gun the same way as you approach a buffet.
No, absolutely not.
Or attack a buffet.
No, but you can attack a buffet with a gun.
That is true.
You're sure to get your fair share of bacon.
There are some buffets I would have liked to do that to.
Yeah, boy, I miss those Vegas buffets.
Duff's?
Duff's? Did Duff's have a buffet?
Yeah.
Down in Kendall?
Duff's.
I remember Duff's. I went there, but I never had the buffet.
Duff's was a buffet that at the end of the day, the workers came out with a giant hose. Isn't that appetizing?
I remember their cheese fries.
Cheese fries and macaroni and cheese. Lots of cheese on everything.
Cheese there. Speaking of cheese, I don't know if, man, I'm going through a big experimental thing. I'm getting older now. I'm going to start talking like an old man. I'm not sure what I can eat anymore without getting, heartburn or worse.
What do you mean?
I used to have a cast iron stomach. I used to just be able to eat nails soaked in acid. I used to be able to gorge myself on anything that was handy. Right. Asbestos, insulation, fiberglass, whatever. I could just eat it. It was just an eating machine. And now, as time goes on, I get upset stomach or worse.
I think you're just becoming more aware of it. That's what happens.
And I don't believe IBS means I bullshit. IBS sounds like a cop out catch-all phrase that ought to really be called I can't eat the way that I used to anymore.
Could be.
I can't eat piles of lard and sugar and crap and starch like I used to anymore.
I used to pack away McDonald's and never gain an ounce when I was young, but forget that now.
You can't. Your metabolism changes and our activity level changes. Are you still running, Boca? That's how you lost all that weight.
I'm very guilty.
Yeah.
Not having been able to do that since the move to
Margate.
Oy.
What? There's no good places to run over there.
You make the wrong turn.
Mm-hmm.
What we just talked about may happen. So,
you get your purse snatched.
There's a rec center there where they have the
where they wreck people.
Yeah, on the side of the tread machine, they have a little have a holder there for your oxygen tank.
Oh my God! Oh,
yeah. So,
I thought it was like a bad neighborhood, like you might get mugged.
If you turn left, it is.
Oh, I see.
If you turn right, it's very nice. So.
Oh, it's like Coconut Grove.
Yeah, I got it. Exactly.
But Coconut Grove is like there's this invisible wall down like what is it, 37th Avenue or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like how do they know to stay on that side? I don't understand. Somehow
There is an
and the
invisible
peacocks too. Yeah. How do the peacocks know to stay on this side, and the cockroaches know to stay on the other side?
They just do.
I don't know. It's weird. I wonder if you can feel it. I mean, I've driven across it. Let's do that.
I know.
Let's go stand in the middle of the street at Coconut Grove and do the mime thing. Like, here it is. I feel it now. It's like the Maxwell Smart, the invisible wall.
It's not so much now, but at one time in Palmer, up on Atlantic, across the street was Collier City. Now, if you'll recall, I used that a lot in my bits. Collier City.
Okay.
It's where they had the tenement slums that were painted sea grape green. It's not that way no more. They gentrified it now. It's relatively nice now. But at the time, that was a giant invisible wall.
What a nice color scheme that is.
One side you had Skoogans, and the other side you had the Belvedere Bar, if you know what I'm saying.
You know, they have a similar wall up in Fort Watt, where my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law lives. Fort Watt, it's the highway. It's actually the yellow line down the highway is where the wall is located. They got on one side. On one side is all rednecky, and on the other side is all the brothers. Hello, SoFlo Radio. Hello, Mel. Hello, Mel.
Hello?
Hello. Hi.
Mel Cooley.
Are you live?
I'm live. You're on the air with us right now. How you doing, Mel? Baby.
Oh, what? Oh, what? I was just wondering why. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, that was it. Thanks for calling.
Remember Mel the Ditzy Broad?
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
After all these years, she's a staple. And Gilbert can still fuck off and die. You notice that? Do you notice that little thread there in the Neil group on Facebook?
I saw him mention, but
somebody started a who's your favorite Chronic thing, and then somebody said something about Gilbert, and
he's
I
still
said,
alive.
Yeah.
Oh,
are you kidding me?
I wasn't paying attention.
With his money. Oh, and thank you for reminding me, because you know, Gilbert Solomon is Jewish. And I've been doing a lot of research, and one of my Jewess friends sent me a video that I'm not going to play on the air because people might get the wrong idea, but it was a very scathing indictment of America's relationship with Israel and laid out some things that I didn't realize, like Israel's really incredibly best in the world socialized medicine that we pay for. And so you know how I've been harping all show long since after 1 o'clock. Oh, by the way, Bruce Silverman, I think, is going to be live from 3, so remind me to set up the dealio here.
All right.
Bruce Silverman, live from 3 till 4, leading up to post time, where we are going to continue to cover this. By the way, nothing is happening.
Oh, speaking of Facebook.
Breaking news, the suspect's aunt speaks to media.
He worked in the enforcement agencies. He also a lawyer. So he was prosecuted enough. We were lucky to take him out of Kyrgyzstan alive.
Kyrgyzstan.
So
He's a
that
Kyrgyz.
was when they came. April 2002.
Did you ever talk to them?
He's a Kyrgyz.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a stereo called that once.
Really?
No,
I'm
sorry.
a
Anyway.
Korg.
Korg.
So I've got the whole, and Boca, you might want to, maybe we can get a group rate for conversion classes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cue up Earl Streitz's, by the way, because I'm very serious about this. Mark my words. I'm going to convert to Judaism.
And why not?
I know I've threatened to before. Now there are lots of reasons. Think of all of the great advantages, besides just the food. You know, now I can wear my yarmulke, one of my yarmulkes from my yarmulke collection, without being pretentious. All right?
Okay.
I'll get invited to lots of lots of bar mitzvahs and things.
You could get molded liver.
Oh, I performed at a bar mitzvah. I don't know. I was, you know, I'm a fire breather now, and that's not a joke. I took classes.
I was last night.
Was it because of Fireball whiskey?
No.
I put on my dragon hat and I breathe fire. I twirl a fire baton and I breathe fire. There's videos on YouTube and on my Facebook page. Just look up Fire Hazard, the George's debut as a fire breather. So, you know, besides all of the regular stereotypical hookups that you get from being Jewish, I'm gonna get the dual citizenship thing going on.
Okay.
So that if I ever get in trouble over here, I can just get deported to Israel and enjoy free health care. And if I do get something like cancer or something like that, I just fly to Israel to get treated. Now, why don't all Americans convert to Judaism? And that way, we can actually be the beneficiaries of the free healthcare, the what do we want to call it, socialized medicine. What's the nice term for what the rest of the world has, the rest of the modern world? Universal health coverage.
Yeah.
Well,
and the rest of the world doesn't think universal health care is a bad word. Only here.
I don't know exactly how much it costs to convert. I'm not concerned with taking the classes and the amount of time necessary, but I am on a budget. I'm very budget conscious over here. So whatever the investment is to convert, it's going to be a bargain, because you're already paying for socialized medicine. You're already paying for universal health care. So how do you get it? How do you become the recipient of it? Convert to Judaism and get your dual citizenship.
Judy's home right now.
Hey, I can be a Judaist.
Well, when she says funny things, I call that Judaism.
No, I do. Now I wonder, because here's what I've encountered, and I wonder about this. When I get to the other side, when I go through the conversion class, I'm going to be very curious to find out who among my Jewish friends knows as much about Judaism as I do at that point, because I found that as a Christian, the people that call themselves Christians don't know jack shit about Christianity. The people who are born and raised in America, my family has gone through the citizenship shit.
Yeah.
They take the class, and then they have to take the civics test. Every single one of them knows 10 times as much as your typical American about American politics and civics.
Sure.
and everything, because they actually took the class and had to pass a test. Americans never had to. And, people who are born in America don't have to take a test to be Americans. The people who do make it, they have to learn some shit, like how many people are in Congress and all that stuff.
There should be a test.
There should be a test, you bet. Hey, you Republicans that want to rewrite the voter laws.
They'll fail.
You want to rewrite the voter laws? How about that? How about that for a good, since you want to do background checks for people getting their voters registration? How about take a physics test so that you actually understand the political process? And you're right. How many Democrats versus how many Republicans will get through that?
I think maybe one Republican.
So I don't know if you want to, because you're going to need some health care, because to treat the lung cancer you're going to have.
Yes.
So if you want, I'll do some research, find out how much conversion class costs, and see if there's a group rate. Because I already know, besides myself, I already know a couple other people that are thinking about converting.
Can't find it.
Can't find what? Earl Streitz's?
No, not.
Well, let's take a break, play something, and then we'll both look for it together.
Okay, we're going to play the Elvis tapes because that Reisenbomber.
Yeah, Elvis impersonator. And that's another thing.
Yeah.
Elvis impersonators should be illegal. Right?
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Especially the parachute ones.
It's 202 on all Elvis Impersonator Radio, SoFloRadio.com.
Join the radio revolution.
You've bought his records, you've seen his films, you've even purchased the Dayglow Velvet Memorial paintings at the gas station. As a true Elvis fan, you think you've heard it all. But wait, there's more. Now you can buy secret recordings of Elvis's last telephone conversations. Yes, it's the Elvis tapes.
Hello, baby. This is Elvis. And I want you to come over right now and make me a big peanut butter and then a sandwich. A peanut butter and then a sandwich will get me through the night.
You'll hear Elvis in his most intimate moments.
Hello, Pizza Man, Pizza. Yeah, this is Elvis. Won't you bring me over a couple large pies? Don't make it 3. Don't make it 6, double cheese. Yeah, I'm home, I'm alone, and I'm hungry.
And you'll hear Elvis reveal how he really feels about the one true love of his life.
I want you back in my life, baby. And on your way back, would you pick up some donuts, please? Big jelly, cream donuts, crustless cheese Danish too. I love my big honey glazed donuts. Without them, I can't do.
The Elvis tapes.
Oh, give me more donuts.
Available now in drugstores everywhere.
I love to eat.
Don't miss By the Glass with Brett Hubbard, 6 to 7 every Thursday night on SoFloRadio.com. By the Glass.
By the Glass is a show about beverage culture.
Brad Hubbard.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the dots on how everything works together. It's really all about how we enjoy things, how we enjoy life, and how beverages play a big part in that. I'm going to bring in people that are going to display their aspect of the culture. I'm going to bring in people that are going to show you different products. We're going to look at places where people go to consume these beverages and how they all interact. Things are built around the actual beverage itself.
By the Glass. Thursdays from 6 to 7. Only on SoFloRadio.com.
SoFloRadio.com. Give us a call at 954-99-00036. Mobile users call 954-990-0036. And for those of you living in the past, call Butterfield 990-0036. Skype name SoFlo Radio.
WRKO, Boston.
They make our buildings tumble down. They use weird words I can't pronounce. But their holes are smoking and the Taliban's in flight because our bombs keep falling from the sky now. They're the evildoers, make no mistake. They're the evildoers, and that's all I ever say. Like I told the kids at school, Afghanistan smells like your stool. And they're all jealous of the things that we all have, like showers, razor blades, and bubble baths now. They're the evildoers, make no mistake. They're the evildoers. That's all I have to say. No more questions, please. Oh, and God bless America.
More and more people hear more and more music on 77 WABC. Sooner or later, the Sunni's gonna get you. Sooner or later, the Sunni's gonna get you. Sooner or later, the Sunni's gonna get you. The Sunni's gonna get you in a war you'll never win. Resistance is what you'll find when you commit genocide with the blueprint of Nazi occupation. Iraqis try to defend their homes against us instead of the Saudis that deserve retaliation. Sooner or later, the Sunni's gonna get you. The Sunni's gonna get you in a war you'll never win. You leave no child behind by sending them off to die in a war that's insane and homicidal. One symptom of genocide is that the people you fight with nothing to lose get suicidal. Please Jesus push God. Power hates abusing. Please Jesus push God. In a war we are losing. Please Jesus push God. Headlines and losing. Please Jesus push God. Corporate collusion. Sooner or later, the Sunni's gonna get you. The Sunni's gonna get you in a war you'll never win. War you'll never win. We're killing thousands a day, want us to go away, and the media labels them insurgents. No surprise we're despised, wash away human life like a box of American detergent. Sooner or later, the Sunni's gonna get you. Sooner or later, the Sunni's gonna get you. Sooner or later, the Sunni's gonna get you. Sooner or later, the Sunni's gonna get you.
Then dog shit. Oh, sorry. To be continued. 954 99 0036 SoFloRadio.com. George Rodriguez, Boca Brit, the George Rodriguez Show on a continuous coverage.
I told that already. They are normal young men, athletic.
This is the
Tamerlan
aunt.
is almost 2 meters tall. Very athletic.
What's a meter?
Smart boy. Seemingly did not
Don't
find
eat her?
himself
Meter.
yet in America because it's not easy. And my younger brother Ruslan, he had a very high expectations of him because he knows
I'm just
he
glad
was
it wasn't
smart.
Consuela.
He knows he could use
Yeah,
his
me too.
From Family
potential.
Guy.
But you know, since and then when he found out that he dropped out of university, that was Ruslan was desperate because he always demands more of his children, of his nephews, especially Tamerlani is his favorite.
They have Family
So,
Guy soundboards.
As I said, studying Jihad is
Jihad? Oh my God!
Studying what?
Can you tell us about when they came to the United States, where they had been living before that?
I brought them here. I was in
It's
the
your fault,
States,
bitch!
going through my paperwork to immigrate to Canada.
When was that?
That was 2001. So then, in 2002, my older brother came to the States. That's when I filed out his paperwork myself for the refugee protection claim.
Your older brother?
Older.
You've been listening to the aunt of Jahar, who is now on the run. Clearly, she is either in a state of denial or not really aware of the full impact of what is happening here, what is going on. She denies that her nephews could be involved in this. She says they are being set up. We heard earlier, as you saw from the uncle of these two young men, who clearly has a different opinion, seemed to refer to them as losers and urged Jahar to turn himself in. He's the only one now still on the loose. Now, as I was saying, we know Jahar came to the United States in 2002 when he was 8 years old. It was said he came with his family. We're not sure exactly what family members. They applied for asylum. He received that asylum and ultimately became a citizen, ironically, on September 11th of 2012. It was 4 years later that his older brother came to the United States, did not receive citizenship, but did have a green card here.
Are we
his
on?
brother, who died in a hail of bullets early this
We're on.
morning
Radio
at
show?
the age of 26.
That was it. Yeah, that was the TV. That was, you know.
I wanted to talk about
Anderson Cooper, who's a very brave man. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. You're familiar, of course, with the Church of the
Westboro Baptist Church. Yes. Which,
now,
and
you
I-
saw the postings? Did you?
Yes. Where they got hacked.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Oh no, what's yours?
I saw the Facebook responses from Baston.
No.
I actually hope it happens.
I didn't know. So what are you talking about? Because I'm thinking something else.
Oh, about them planning to protest the deaths of the funerals.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see the relation with
No.
the gay.
I can explain them to you.
I guess it doesn't matter.
I can explain them to you.
Bolton, go right ahead.
The Westboro Baptist Church, but I want to know the story. What's the posting?
It's very, very rare that a Facebook posting stands out and just knocks me off my goddamn ass.
Right.
This was so fucking good, I had to share it with you.
Please do.
This is Boston, and we're fucking talking about not Casper, Wyoming. And I'm not done. This guy turns into Joe Pesci, right?
Right. Go.
If they show up, they can forget about being greeted by angels wearing wings made out of bed sheets. After all is said and done, cops will be finding Dodge Caravans with Kansas plates floating in the back bay with big fat chunks of douchebags stuffed in the garbage sacks scattered around every back alley in Southie. Oh, God.
Is there more?
Well, we won't tolerate your bullshit. This is so great.
That's great. Careful. See, if you weren't a cigarette smoker.
We're going to beat the shit out of your asses. And there'll be many smiling faces, including yours truly.
Sure.
Oh, and in case you think the police will protect you, don't count on it. These folks have been known to turn a blind eye when it comes to assholes like you. So bring your Bibles, you little bitches, and pray like a motherfucker, because we're going to beat the fuck out of you.
Oh, yeah.
You're fucking with a heavyweight. I
The
love
Westboro Baptist Church,
Let 'em go.
the guy that runs that outfit, Reverend Homophobe, is obviously very gay. As you know, and I've said this before. This is nothing new. So if you're tired of this spiel, tune out for about 30 seconds. As the authorized spokesperson for all the heterosexual men on the planet, it is official policy among the heterosexual men that we don't give a flying fuck what gay men are doing. It has nothing to do with us. We're too busy trying to get laid by women, and gay men do not interfere with that process. They're not in between us and the punch bowl, if you will, at this party.
Right.
At the party called life. Gay men are not standing in between straight men and anywhere we want to be. Gay men are not crowding any of the locales we want to visit. Gay men are not making it difficult for us to get into any place we want to go any more than anyone else is. And gay men are certainly not standing in between us and the object of our desire, vagina. So we, the straight men of the world, like, we care about gay men the way that we care about rainforest salamanders. It's something going on over there that has nothing to do with us. Hey, what's your opinion of rainforest salamanders? I don't know. They're shiny.
Yeah. Look like Rick Scott.
Their lives, their existence, their lifestyle, their lifestyle choices, and indeed, obvious, whether I don't even want to get into that argument with homophobes like the Reverend homophobe over there about whether homosexuality is a choice or if you're born that way. Yeah, it's a choice. People want to be picked on. People want to be out of step with mainstream society. They choose to be
more than picked on.
Choose to be that way. So that's the official position of straight men. Is we don't care about gay men. We don't care that men are gay. Wonderful, great, more pussy for us, as George Carlin would say.
Yeah.
That's the position of all of the straight men on the planet. If you have a problem with homosexuals and homosexuality, then you're not straight. Then there's something wrong with you.
Exactly.
Because we, the straight men, are too busy trying to get laid to even take notice that what another man's sexuality might be. We so don't care.
You're straight, why would it bother you? Why would you care?
Right. It is so not on the list of things we give a fuck about what another dude is doing. Unless, of course, he's in the way. Now, if you've got some conflicted feelings going on, Reverend, what's his name? Was it Wildman?
Randall Terry.
Randall, is that his name? Figure, because I get confused with him because there's a
Terry,
Wildman.
the guy who banged a mule.
Randall Terry and the Reverend Wildman. I get those two confused.
That's easy to confuse.
Yeah, we can Google that. Westboro. Can you do that for me there, honey?
Well, actually, I'm.
Oh, okay. Then never mind.
Go ahead and do that.
Westboro Baptist Church. Facebook hit homepage. Westboro. Oh, there's the homepage. The Westboro Baptist Church homepage is GodHatesFags.com.
Oh, okay.
In case you want to go there.
Sure, it's your computer.
I don't. I'm going to Wikipedia instead.
Oh, okay.
You know, my 11-year-old daughter is editing Wikipedia.
For what?
I don't know, but she wants me to.
Let me guess. It's the Neil page. Isn't it always?
She wrote a whole paragraph about what a douchebag George is.
Maybe she wrote this.
Fat
chunks of douchebag stuffed in garbage.
Oh, Fred Phelps. That's what it is. Fred Phelps, of course.
I think I got something on him here.
Yes. So here's the thing. It has the church, the whole church structure and framework. Again, it's just like the NRA. It's just a MacGuffin. This is a cult of personality having nothing to do with the Bible or anything. This is just some asshole that wants to rally people around his banner and get people to give him money by getting attention and being extreme. All right? If he thought that wearing a colander on his head would put more money in his pocket, he would do that. But he has hit upon a attention-getting thing. You know that they wouldn't be traveling all around and picketing these funerals unless there was something in it for them. You think, what's in it for them?
Yeah.
They get attention.
And contributions.
It's show business and contributions, exactly. Religion, churches, are not just businesses, but it's show business. When you think about it, what do you get? For example, when you go to a gas station, you pay money, you get gas, you bought gas. That's the business, selling gas. If you call up Stanley Steamer, they come over, they shampoo your carpet, they do a service for you, right? Mm-hmm. Some businesses are in the business of providing goods. Some businesses are in the business of providing services. What is it that a church does? It's the same as it's got a stage. They've got music. They've got a sound system.
You're paying for a show.
It's entertainment. You're paying for a show. And that's what he's doing. This is his particular show. It's the homophobe show. For other homophobes, for other closeted fags in denial just like him, to put on a good show, to convince, I don't know, the people around them and maybe even themselves that they're not really gay after all. If you do a lot of gay bashing, To them, to their mind, it makes you not as gay. But they're very, very gay in that church. Hey, Fred Phelps, you're a fag. You're as faggoty as they get.
Well, I'm getting hillbilly
You're
buttfuckers lined up.
Gayer than gay Edgar Hoover. Well, I don't want to have to wait for that.
Well, you
I have so many
no
things.
choice.
I had so many things to talk about today, like CB Radio Talk. It's coming back.
CB?
CB Radio Talk, not CB Radio.
Oh.
I happened upon this recently. You know how everybody texts and the texting has its own language and abbreviations? Well, CB radio language is making a resurgence in text form, like 10-4, good buddy.
Oh.
You know, all that CB slang. And people using handles and things like that. And that's good. Languages shouldn't die.
Oh, well, in that case.
What, are we going to have abortion convoy too?
Sure, why not?
We'll just have a whole hillbilly religion block coming up next on SoFloRadio.com.
Breaker 19, this here's Redneck Schmuck.
Really don't want to make me wait for it.
Me, Ben Gay, come on. 10-4, reading you wall to wall. Is the paint dry on your dead fetus yet? Roger that, old son. Got dead fetuses painted on all sides. Could use more red paint for splatter. Copy that. The Lord will have mercy on you, good buddy. Rajo, looks like we got a clear shot to Bagtown with an anti-abortion convoy.
We're on our way to Honeytown to spread the word of the Lord. With bloody dead babies painted on the back of our 1981 Fords. We is heading south on I-95 with our gruesome baby signs, warning everybody that they'll go to hell if they're not pro-life.
Anti-abortion convoy, redneck right-wing schmucks. Anti-abortion convoy, dead babies on our trucks. Convoy.
Was that a transvestite hooker I saw you with back at the truck stop, Ben Gay? Ben Gay, you copy me? Roger that. Listen, we want everybody to be like us, so try to maintain the sanctimonious man. 10-4.
Well, we're right-wing wackos with no teeth that can't hold down a job. With convoys rolling through the streets to preach the word of God. We're asshole Christians on a mission to change your secular mind. Who could use a bath and take a crap in any backyard we can find?
We're God's almighty convoy, aren't you impressed? With pictures on our convoy of babies that are dead. Come on to join our convoy, Jesus will be pleased. The anti-abortion convoy of morons with no teeth. Convoy.
Breaker, I got the Shoney shoots, good buddy. Roger that. I'll give you my corn cob at the next choking puke. Praise Jesus, good brother. I sure could go for a shrimp cocktail.
Come along with me to blow up an abortion clinic, to kill another doctor who is murdering a kid. If you speak with a drawl and have a bad attitude, then grab a can of gas and you can burn one down too. Abortion clinic, that is. Ain't nothing like the smell of nurses on fire. Now if you drive a truck and wear a smelly hat and own a velvet Jesus welcome mat, and after we make a clinic explode, we'll go find a nigger and drag him down the road. You'll be proud you're from the South, boy. Double wide Southern pride. Now if there should be a woman trapped inside, we'll rape her in the ass and steal her purse before she dies, and paraphrase the Bible to validate our barbarism, ignorance, and seething hate. Inbred, that is. Fire up some Garth Brooks tunes. Now we are the Christian soldiers of God who like to wipe our ass with an old corn cob. And when we're not burning churches or clinics down, we play our banjos in the trees with penis in our mouths. That's what Christians require, right there in the old brown eye.
I'm a hillbilly Republican butt fucker. Inbred, retarded, and comfortably dumb. I'm a big dick and Bush supporter. In Saudi America, the country I love. God bless America, it says on my truck. Swastikas are tattooed on my nuts. Rummy looks and shiny, don't care about me. I wear it on my sleeve.
Squat down on my pulsating staff and let me watch your balls slapping on my lap. Come on, good Christian brother, help me get off as I gaze upon my naked pics of John Ashcroft.
Younger than dog do, just like Georgie's brain. That's why I'm devoted to him. Then Democrats or commies, dissenters and gays, Christ-killing Jews living in sin. I'm a giddy Republican fucker, inbred, retarded, comfortably dumb, and I believe any goddamn thing they say.
You get a positive charge out of super hot hit line WABC.
Head of the AFA said SpongeBob is gay. He's gonna tell us all what to see and say. Donald Wildman.
Donald Wildman.
Oh yeah, Donald Wildman.
Donald Wildman.
A Nazi neocon brute who knows what's best for you. Democrats, blacks, and you Christ-killing Jews. A self-appointed pimp who's watching out for your kids on the internet as he monitors pigs. Donald Wildman. Good Reverend Donald Wildman. He's gonna pick and choose what you can hear and view. He's a man of the moist cloth, Don Wildman. His buddy Tom DeLay, Santorum brown back, should be locked away. Slamming Sammy bareback, Donald Wildman. The good Christian Donald Wildman. He's a crooked bum like James Dobson. He's white to below blows, Reverend Don Wildman.
No! Get off my phone! Get off my phone! Get off!
Oh, I'm a monkey, you're a monkey, she's a monkey, he's a monkey, we're all monkeys down.
I don't
I'm a monkey,
care.
You're a monkey, she's a monkey, he's a monkey, we're all
Get
monkeys
off my
down.
phone!
Swinging tree to tree, we scream and squawk and shout. No responsibilities, that's what we're all about. I'm a monkey, you're a monkey, she's a monkey, he's a monkey, we're all monkeys now. I'm a monkey, you're a monkey, she's a monkey, he's a monkey, we're all monkeys now. Swinging tree to tree, we scream and squawk and shout. No responsibilities, that's what we're all.
Wow. What was the inspiration for the monkey thing?
I think we got some RF bleed from WIOD there. they still have him on there.
Oh man, hang on. I'm gonna relay one of your posts, Bruce Silverman. If you want me to relay your posts, and this goes for a lot of people, hey, put the SoFlo Radio link on there, so that we get people to listen to SoFlo Radio. Since it's not just going to be you talking about it, Bruce, it's going to be JJ and Sam following us. So, you know, the collective, that kind of thing. Let me see if that shows up.
By the way, this morning, following this, I was listening to WBZ.
Yes.
When the Hurricane Sandy hit, I listened to the 88s.
Okay.
Okay. Full coverage, all there. This station that I was listening to this morning was locked down as well with everybody else. And I just can't help but think, and you feel this way too, but I think that makes two of us. In an area of 4 or 5 million people, which is where we live.
Right.
Something like this should happen.
Oh,
what
good Lord.
would you turn on? You're going to rely on Jonathan King on CNN, who reports on the Tooth Fairy?
Right.
I mean,
no, we don't.
We're screwed.
And I lament that, and that is why, among other reasons, I feel that it's very important to support this local internet radio station and keep this thing going, because, again, when I was talking to Bruce earlier, don't forget 3 to 4, Bruce Silverman, and then from 4 till 6, JJ and Sam. A special edition of Post Time is they're going to be covering this also, and we're watching this. You know, they're going to the campus to to talk to people, try to find them there. Nothing is happening. Nothing has happened just yet. But WID wasn't just a fun place where everyone kind of got together. It was like the round table of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, where I was reared, and I'm still sore about it. So.
I feel like you kind of on a tightrope when I'm around.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
There was a park in the middle of town, a central park, if you will, and in the middle of the park there was a gazebo, and all of the young people knew to meet at the gazebo. We didn't have cell phones in those days, and you didn't bother to go home and start calling each other up with a telephone game. It was very convenient. You went home from school, you did what you had to do, checked in with your parents, did your homework if you had to, whatever, changed your clothes. For me, changing my clothes was to just change out of my school clothes and just put on my cutoffs. No shoes, no shirt, no underwear, no nothing. I grabbed my skateboard and whatever pointy stick I was swinging around with me at the time. Stick, I said.
And hope you didn't fall
and
down.
went down to the park, skateboarded down to the park, and you just go to the gazebo and wait there. If there was nobody there, just wait. Somebody would be along, or everyone would be along. All the local town's children and teens would meet at the gazebo in the middle of the Blown Rock Park there. And it was understood that was the place to gather. And WIOD was very much like that. And just as it was with the kids, most of the time when the crowds would gather at WIOD, it was for fun and larfs. It was for armpit noises, armpit fart sounds, and, it was a fun, lighthearted environment there all day long, from Mike Ranieri to Neil and then Rick and Suds, or etc.
It was like radio.
Right. It was light. It was relatively light in the sports talk and like that. But then when something serious was going on, the entire station, regardless of who was on the air, would seamlessly shift gears to we're taking this shit seriously, and now we're going from fun and larfs and to infotainment, or just info.
Right.
And Hurricane Andrew was the best example of that, but that wasn't the only example. If there was a high-speed chase over there, it's like we would do continuous coverage. We'd just, excuse me, we interrupt this fart sound to give you continuous coverage of some high-speed chase over here on the causeway or something like that. And how a town of this size, like you said, 4 to 5 million people, doesn't have a meeting place like that, a hub like that, it's embarrassing. And so here we are. Here we are, and we are it. And Bruce Silverman is back for more, ladies and gentlemen.
Now we're going from fun and larfs and to infotainment, or just
but you've got our audio up, man.
And Andrew was the best example of that, but that wasn't the only example. If there was a high-speed chase over there, it's like
Bruce.
Excuse me, we interrupt this fart sound
I'm gonna hang up on you, Bruce.
To give you continuous coverage of some high-speed chase over here on the causeway or something.
Bruce, you got to work on your mix minus, buddy.
Of size, like you said, for.
Yeah, and he hung up.
Okay. Well, thanks for that helpful information.
I thought Bruce was only computer challenged because he's a Mac user.
Oh, well.
But he's board challenged. We'll get it together, Bruce. I might have to visit your studio again and show you how to get that mix minus going. Do you want to try this again? Bruce Silverman, ladies and gentlemen. No, you're still feeding me back to myself.
Hang up.
So bye, Bruce, because we can't be doing this all day. You're going to have a whole hour to recap this. And if there is any new information, then CNN and Anderson Cooper
this city trying to facilitate, trying to help as much as they can.
Blackhawks landed at the University of Mass.
Nobody believed me when I said he was gay. Nobody believed me.
I believed you.
If you did, yes.
Well, because you have gaydar.
We'll get it together, Bruce. I might have to visit your studio again and show you how to get that mix minus going. You want to try this again?
Doing it all
Yes,
wrong.
we want to try it again.
Oh, how are you doing there?
I am doing good. Okay, I finally got it. I had 2 different players going, and I only turned off one. So yes, because I am a Mac user, I am computerly challenged.
I know Amish people that know more about computers than Mac users.
And as far as the mix minus is concerned, I actually do have the additional equipment, but I have no idea what to do with it.
Okay,
so,
well I'll visit you again. You can buy me lunch.
Here you are. You're back.
Wow.
Yeah.
I appreciate the sound effect, boys. I'm preparing for the show that we're going to do between 3 and 4, and it's great that we are on a station in which we can switch gears and we can talk about the things that are truly important to our listeners and to the community and what is going on in the world. Last spoke to you about an hour and a half ago. And the reality of this story is that not a lot has changed, although they're starting to piece together a lot more background on the 2 suspects. Right now, what we do know is that the 19-year-old, they believe, is still alive and holed up someplace. They're trying to track him down. The idea is to bring him in alive. I think that is going to be a very, very difficult task. A couple of things that are going on right now. They believe that they have identified 2 different YouTube channels, one that was done by the 19-year-old brother, the other one by the 26-year-old brother. 22 different videos were found on the 26-year-old, 4 on the 19-year-old. Content, some of it was in English, some of it was in Russian, and a lot of the content, they believe, is very similar to what we saw after 9/11, with videos referencing Islam and bin Laden denouncing infidels. So they're starting to piece together what the ideals were behind these two. It seems that the more that is being told so far indicates to me, at least, that the brother, the older brother, the one that has been killed overnight, was the one that was probably leading the charge.
Yeah.
His younger brother, he probably recruited on this. A couple other things of personal nature that have come out. There were 4 children, two sons, which were the ones that we're talking about now. There's also 2 sisters, I believe at least one of them living in New Jersey. There is an aunt that is up in Toronto. She's
we've been hearing
attorney.
from her. I think that's the one we were hearing from. That's the
No.
attorney.
Yeah, she was on CNN. She lives in Toronto, and it was interesting to listen to her because she was kind of outlining the history of the family and how they got to the United States. And she said she'd been in the United States in 2002 working on getting over to Canada. Apparently, the family was looking for some type of asylum, which kind of indicates a number of different things, and it will all be defined as the days and weeks continue to go. Right now, CNN has a graphic up. We referenced it the last time I was on the air. They rob a convenience store. They're not saying it's a 7-Eleven anymore, so either it was bad press for 7-Eleven or it really wasn't 7-Eleven. The second thing that happened was an officer was killed at MIT. They started traveling back towards Boston. They hijacked a car, and 30 minutes later, they let the driver of that car go after bragging that they were the ones that had done the bombing. Interesting, right before I came on the air with you guys, I was reading an article about one of the victims who lost both of his legs. His name was Jeff Bauman. Recently, I guess sometime in the evening or this morning, woke up, saw the pictures on television of the suspects, and identified the older brother in the black hat and said that he had locked eyes with him and saw him carrying a bag and saw him actually place it. So this story, although right now in the last couple of hours has kind of slowed down, doesn't seem like it's as much movement and activity that took place earlier this morning when everything was coming together, seems to have settled down. But I think part of it is that the police are settling in for what could be a very, very long evening. Think about it this way, guys. The 19-year-old who is still alive, Jorge, or believed to be still alive, has been awake for a long time. And at some point, he's going to start getting tired. And the longer that he is awake, delusion can set in, cognitive thinking can start to slow down, and that can make him less dangerous or more dangerous. We don't exactly know. But they are treating this situation as delicately as they always have. Transportation in and out of the Boston proper area is slowly picking up. There was an official earlier, about an hour ago, that told people they didn't want them holding up in their places of business if they got there before they shut the city down. So they're allowing taxis and small amounts of driving to be done. Mass transportation is still shut down, and still 1 million people are generally being kept in their homes.
Let me ask you this question about, because, anything you speculate about, you could put your foot in a bucket right now. But
sure,
it got awfully quiet. Would you suspect that there is a hostage situation going on here?
I think we know about that, right?
I think that at this point, if something like that was going on, they would be pretty hard-pressed to keep it quiet. I mean, when the last time I was on the air, we talked, there are at least 10 different police agencies. Those walkie-talkies are blaring. There is media everywhere. Even if one of the things that's going on right now is they talked about doing a controlled explosion in Cambridge at the house where they believe they're going to detonate materials later today on Norfolk Street. There are so many radios everywhere. A lot of the news that is being gathered by people on the streets throughout the area are getting it because they're overhearing police scanners. You know that every news gathering organization in the world that is covering this story has their police scanners going in Boston. So if there was any idea of a hostage situation right now, we would know about it. I think right now they have probably settled into determining where this guy is. They will continue to search all the homes in Watertown to make sure that there aren't any additional accomplices, that there aren't devices that might have been left behind as he traveled from one house to another trying to find a safe place. I think that they're settling in and they're going to wait this situation out. The worst thing that they could do is have some trigger-happy cop who just came on, because also keep in mind, within the last hour, they've had a shift change. So now you got fresh bodies on the ground, guys that have been watching TV all morning long, and the last thing that any of the police agencies want is somebody to come on and go, I want to be the hero. I want to be the one that takes this guy out. This is an unbelievably dangerous situation. They have absolutely no idea what they're truly going to face when they come face-to-face with this guy. They don't know what was in his backpacks, what he was carrying. There are reportedly a lot of weapons on him because there was an enormous gun battle around somewhere between 11 o'clock last night and 1 o'clock last night. So this is a situation that they are just going to slowly let play out and make sure that they have the right decision-making going at all times.
What and again, more speculation. Are they, when they're doing like door-to-door searches, and they're telling everybody to stay in their homes first of all, and then they're going through and methodically searching every home, or what?
You know what? They haven't reported that. All they have said is they're going door to door. My guess is they're going door to door, and they're probably entering the homes. Probably anywhere from 2 officers to 5 or 6 officers. And basically, like we see on TV, they're gonna go through the house and they're gonna say clear, 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 clear.
Right.
If they see anything suspicious, they're gonna do something about it, and they're gonna walk out of that house and they're gonna report that whatever that address was, it was clear.
Well, let me ask you, because it
To
seems
the next house.
Because all right, the law being what it is, and you got to have a warrant to go in. Is this a military thing? Are they doing martial law? Are they just throwing the law out? Because here's the scenario: what if he is inside the house with someone, like he jumped into some family home and there's a family in there, and he rounds up mom and the kids, and we're going to go down in the basement when the cops or the soldiers come to the door, tell them to go away, or I'm going to let your family have it down here in the basement. So what do they do? What does because I know it's a mixture of police and I see military people out there. What do they do if they come to a doorway and somebody says, no, you can't come in here?
Yeah, my guess is that if anybody says no, that's going to send up red flags.
Okay.
Which may very well have been, because they haven't reported it all, but we could speculate that in some of the situations earlier today, a few hours ago, even before you guys came on the air, and we saw there was a tremendous amount of activity in certain areas, it may have been that people denied. There may have been something that was extremely suspicious to them. I think that if the 19-year-old Johar holed up in a basement someplace and somebody knocked on the door and they came to the door, I would think that somebody at the door would have the wherewithal to say, he's in my basement.
Right. Well, that's the point. It's like, no, I'm not going to say that because he's in my basement with my family, and if he hears the approaching footsteps, he's going to shoot him.
All right, but well, I think at that point the police would then backtrack and come up with a serious game plan on how they were going to take the house.
And I'm just saying the basement. I mean, he could be right there, like behind the door, holding a gun on somebody's head.
I realize that.
We've seen this in the movies, and this is mental masturbation. But we've seen this in the movies a lot. That's what they do in a hostage situation. Is like, you better get rid when the cops come to the door, get rid of them, or I'm going to blow your brains out. And so the person that opens the door has to do their best to put on an act.
Right, and we're not talking about professional actors. Let's think about this for a second, George. If you were being held by a gunman, if somebody in your family was being held by a gunman, and this was going on, and you came to the door and you looked at the cop, and the cop said, we'd like to search. Is there anything going on here? You would give some type of indication.
I would endeavor to. I absolutely would.
So I think if anything like that was to take place, I think that some type of face would be made, or some type of statement, a cryptic statement would be made to kind of tip off the police. And then I think at that point, the guys that are going door to door are probably very well trained to make sure that nothing escalates beyond what it needs to. Because in that particular case, a police officer is notified, yes, the guy's in the house. They want to quickly leave so they can report it, go about like nothing is going wrong, and then formulate a massive game plan to be able to take over that house. And it might be a game plan that they take 20 minutes to put together and then decide they're going to do it in an hour, or it may be something that takes hours to put together, but at least at that point, they've identified where the house is. I still believe, even if authorities have determined where this guy is, they're still going to search 100% of the homes in the area that they wanted. It's not like you go to house number 5 and that's where he is and you stop. I think you go to, all 1,000 houses, even if you found the guy in 826.
Do you imagine that everyone is being very cooperative when it comes to the people coming at the door? It's like, what if, I don't want the police to find my giant bong?
They're not doing that there now.
No?
Everybody's chipping in.
Well, if you think about it, George, if you really think about it from that perspective, number one, the people who do smoke are all smoking right now because they all want to relax. Okay,
Probably
that's the first thing.
Sure, I'll be opening. I'll be opening the door, holding the giant bong, saying, "Look, he's not in here."
Even if there is a grow house in Watertown and a police officer showed up and saw all the hydroponic stuff, the guy would just say, "Look, I don't give a shit right now.
Right.
I just want to come in, search, and as long as this guy isn't here, I didn't see anything."
I would like to think
it almost be like Schultz.
That at times like this, we can all get together and agree that some things are more important than others.
Absolutely. All right, listen, guys, I just wanted to call in real quick. Sure. I'm going to be live starting in 15 minutes.
Right on.
Doing a special show from 3 to 4, and we appreciate Alan Michaels letting us preempt his She Hour.
Right. I didn't give him a choice, but we appreciate it anyway.
Oh, one quick thing before you go.
But we're going to do a special hour of Silverman on Boston, Silverman on News.
One quick thing before you go.
Yes. Yeah.
Don Lemon was just on CNN. Is he, because you know sports, is he any relation to Meadowlark Lemon by any chance?
I don't think. I didn't see a family resemblance. They don't seem to have the same hair. I actually have similar hair to Meadowlark Lemon at this point, but I don't think Don Lemon does. I actually think that Don Lemon might have a relation to the former Yankee pitcher Bob Lemon, but that's unconfirmed.
There you go.
Thank you, Bruce. Bruce Silverman,
we'll
ladies
talk
and
to you
gentlemen.
guys soon. Thanks, guys.
He'll be coming on at 5. Normally we have the She Play. This is we're really building on the whole I call it So Flow Ridays, where we want to have some live programming. I'd like to get something in there because Nicole takes the day off.
Yeah.
And so I would certainly like to have a pre-show lead-in, and I keep talking to people about that. So one of these days, I want to have like live programming because JJ and Sam are on from 7 to 10 now. So from 7 until whenever, midnight or something like that, I would like to have live continuous programming. And by the way, the midday music mix that you hear, which is a relatively new addition to the schedule, I want to give some props to Dio. I thoroughly enjoy that. It's not obnoxious. It falls under the category of club music, but he mixes an original hour every evening, and then and we play it every day, and it's relatively soothing. It's a relatively soothing, not fast mix of nice sounds to lead into the Sir Darrell radio experience, our exchange student.
Still?
He's our original exchange student, and and kudos to him. He's been at this
He
the
should have
whole
graduated
internet.
by
You wouldn't you think? Well, if he came down here, he would fit in better. He's a pioneer. Him and Radio Dan, they've been doing this for like a decade. The whole or more, the whole internet broadcasting thing, and thank goodness for him, because he's sort of sorry, Darrell, if we get a live midday show, and I know people want it to be me, but I don't. That's not true. I want it to be me, but I'm just way too busy doing all of the other stuff that's required to keep this whole thing going. So let's take a break. So
this is for Darrell. Anyway,
and his schedule fits because he's not on Friday.
We're breaking?
Repeats.
We got 8 minutes left.
8 minutes left.
Oh,
Okay,
12 minutes left. Sorry.
12, well, then let's
by
not.
the way, is it 10 in, 10 out, or 10 in? I can't
Before
remember.
10 before.
10,
10
thank you
seconds
very
before,
much.
so that we get a nice, clean entrance. And
We
hey,
have
thanks, Luis, for turning me onto this page. What is it? Chicas Malas. It's just a bunch of it's a Facebook page with a whole bunch of scantily clad women on it. Some of them with just giant butts and camel toe pictures and everything. It's very distracting here, Louis. I don't even know how to get off of this page.
The giant butts, and you cannot lie.
Off of the page. So speaking of things, because Bruce is gonna, he already brought us as up to date as we can. And how do you say this guy's name? Drunken Har Tara's gonna see if with a name like that, his name. See, 19-year-old Zokar.
Zokar. That's Russian for George.
Zokar? I don't believe you.
No, but if you ever want to write a Star Trek script,
yes,
that's where they get all the names from.
Russia?
Aren't those great names?
I had no idea.
I am Zokar.
I am Zokar.
I will destroy your ship. It's sort of like they get Baltic steaks.
Speaking of stuff, let's tear through some of the thank goodness for Hulu and Netflix and my digital piracy, so I don't have to be a slave to any TV schedule. I'm all caught up on Mad Men, so let's get that out of the way first.
Moving slow.
And I got to say that yes, I was. Thank you for saying that, because I have to say, and I was. You know what? I was watching some of the first season again. I was visiting a friend of the family's, and the mother was catching up on Mad Men. She hadn't seen it before, so she's watching some Mad Men episodes from the first season. And I had just got done the day before catching up on this current season.
Mm-hmm.
What a huge difference just in the atmosphere, just in the tone. So something's going on with the writing or the directing or something. It doesn't have the same feel to it, first of all.
I noticed that too.
Yeah. It seems like they're chewing their cud, like they're borrowing the same kinds of storylines and then just changing the names and the characters and everything, but a lot of the same stuff, like Don and his infidelity. I'm kind of, tired of that.
Yeah.
And I'm picking out the things that I like. Like I like Megan.
Yeah.
I think she's great. She makes me happy when she's on the screen.
Right.
She's a good actress, but she's like. She's a good actress because I hate it when, whether it's in a movie or a TV show, they cast someone and the character is supposed to be pretty and charming, but the actor or actress can't pull that off. And this actress, and I don't know her name, the one that plays Megan, really comes across with a charm. Like she's really likable. Like I really like her, and so Don's kind of bumming me out because there's really no reason for him to be doing what he's doing with her
not
anymore.
Even that hot.
And she's not. And I'm kind of tired of that already. Okay, Don cheats. Next, what else you got? This is how the Peter's infidelity storyline is more interesting than the Don's infidelity storyline because he doesn't know how to do it right.
Yeah. He's the only character where you really enjoy seeing bad things happen to the son of a
man. It's like it's either him or someone around him always getting the shit kicked out of them.
Jessica Paré.
Yeah, I like his character because the English pussy guy beat the shit out of him, right? No,
everybody beats the
shit out of him.
Remember, he was captain of the Howdy Doody Army.
And the thing with Peggy, I hate her more and more because of this. The writers, producers are insisting upon her. I don't know whose dick she sucked. I don't know who she blew to be the major character that she is. I wanted to like her. When she was an underdog, an up-and-coming underdog, I felt sorry for her. I wished her well. I wanted her to get her due and everything. But now she's a prick.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's impersonating Don.
Yeah. I don't care about her anymore. I don't like her. I really didn't like her all that much, except for the fact that she was downtrodden. And now that she's the one doing the downtrodden, I don't like her. And I really don't care. So little by little, I'm caring about the characters less and less. Right now, anymore, it's the Roger Sterling and Meg show. Roger is cracking me up.
Yeah.
Roger cracks me up more and more.
Chased through the alleys by Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah.
Great line.
He's... And like I'm losing. By the way, that season premiere took me 2 tries to get through it.
Yeah,
I fell asleep halfway through attempt number 1.
Didn't need to do that, and it seems to me the writers are trying to find they're angling for a direction to take, and Maybe they will. You know, it's only been 3 episodes.
All of the stuff that we liked about it
2,
originally, I thought, you know, the time tripping into the 60s, and, you know, we were cracking up with the smoking, the littering, and everything, and the smoking and the drinking is cliche anymore.
And if they wouldn't mind, I'd like to see them spring for some music rights.
Oh, God.
In that era.
Oh,
and
dude,
it sounds like Boardwalk Empire.
I know that the smoking and the drinking was prevalent, but neither of those two substances were as prevalent as the music was.
Yeah.
That every room that they walk into, every office, every hallway should have something, a Beatles song, something going on. Stones. You're right. Absolutely right.
McCartney said to Wiener, "You can use our stuff." And what did they pick? The was it the Revolver album? The sitar song. That's the song they pick.
So I'm gonna stay with it because I'm a little bit locked in. But it's no Breaking Bad. I don't know if you know. I'm waiting with.
That's on after Mad Men.
Breaking Bad T-shirt. But there's a lot of things that are good right now. Well, Walking Dead, the season's over with, and
what do you think?
I'm very satisfied.
Me too.
Very satisfied. My new favorite character on that show, and if you'd have bet me a year ago, I'd have lost my ass.
Which one?
Carl, the little kid.
Oh, the little kid. He's badass.
Born again hard. He's a badass, man. He told that I couldn't. Like he's lecturing his dad. He's schooling his dad, and you know what? He's right.
Well, look what he had to do. I
know. He's right. Carl is absolutely right about everything that he says, and you know, and that chick Andrea, you know, she was pissing me off, so I'm kind of glad. Did you see the Facebook thing that somebody posted? It was like, you know, the guy that they locked in a room with her. What was his name? The governor's
Berman or something
buddy?
like that.
Let's say his name is Dennis
Sherman
or Dennis or whatever. Hey, how did Andrea taste? And the quote was horrible. WHR.
Yeah, she was a whore.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And she was a bad shot and everything. So
yeah,
that was good. And I liked how they resolved that. I liked where we're at with that right now.
You know what surprises me is how many British actors are on that show.
And why not? Speaking of British actors, I don't know where this is coming from, but it would behoove you. You know, I have a Viking textbook over there. My brother was big into Vikings and got me into Vikings. Vikings are fun.
Mm-hmm.
The History Channel has a series now called Vikings, and it's a dramatization. It's very much like the Rome series was. They take real historical events and then dramatize the Vikings that are taking part in those events. Very good, very gritty. Not insulting to the intelligence. So far, very historically accurate. Like they're not wearing horns or anything of that Hollywood bullshit. And the places and the dates that they're using are real, right out of my Viking World Atlas of Viking History and Culture book.
Okay.
That
I'll check.
Read that thing very many times. But good budget, good grit, good acting. Gabriel Byrne. The only miscasting that I thought was when the series starts, the leader of the Viking clan is played by Gabriel Byrne, who's like a black Irish. You know, he's got those dark eyes and dark hair and very un-Viking looking kind of guy. I'm sure they had a few Vikings like that running around, but he's the leader. So I wouldn't expect him to be, you know, he should have looked more Nordic. But whatever, but he did a good job of acting, and it's good. It's insightful, and again, good story. Like you can't really predict what's going on, and
they wrap some arcs.
Oh yeah,
because I appreciate that more than anything.
Anymore.
Mad Men's not wrapping anything right now.
That's why, and said like The Shield came up in discussion yesterday during John Etch and the Sports Heads. Perfect series from scene one, from the opening credit of the very first one to the closing credits of the last one. Perfection all the way through. Breaking Bad is looking like that. Is looking like it's gonna.
I saw Lincoln. And
I did not.
And Walter Coggins is in it.
Did you see Abraham Lincoln Zombie Killer? Is that Lincoln? No.
Yeah. Oh no, that one.
No,
that's the Netflix Lincoln.
I didn't see that either.
But anybody, I know you don't watch Sons of Anarchy.
No.
But that show centers around gun trafficking, illegal gun trafficking in Northern California.
Okay.
In some states, gun trafficking, it's legal. And,
I want to be one.
But why would they even have a show about it? What's the point? They might as well go back to having their auto body shops.
Yeah, that's like Ice Road Truckers. Like, okay, wow, you.
It's like it's pointless.
If they do make guns illegal in America, I plan to be a gun runner just because.
That'll never happen.
Because and of course it'll never happen. It's just so people got to control the rhetoric. That's all. The point on that. Meanwhile, back to TV shows. The Borgias. I'm liking. Hey, by the way, fellow Borgia watchers out there, the first Borgia episode of this new season was a little bit slow because they had to do a lot of recap and establishing where we're going from here. And now that they have done that, the successive 2 episodes after that, very good, very riveting.
I only know Victor Borgia.
Mad Men, Vikings, Walking Dead. We covered Borgias, and for those of you, Game of Thrones, which you call it Gay of Thrones. You know what? There hasn't been any faggery before or after that scene. Not a bit, and awesome. Just I want to, if the Snoop Dogg cutout ever meets with some horrible accident, the new cutout that I'm going to stick over there in the corner is going to be of that dwarf Peter Dinklage. And his character wearing the family.
Who's great, by the
family
way.
outfit.
I really like that guy.
Oh, listen, you will never, because have you seen the movie In Bruges or The Station Agent or any of the other, when you saw him on 30 Rock, he's a phenomenal actor, but he won.
You know what he said?
No, come on, lay it on me. Where is it? It won't play. See, now you're making me.
We have his quote right
like
here.
Bruce Silverman.
But
Yeah, I'm waiting for it. Wait.
Fuck this. No more midget shit.
That's what.
There he goes. Okay. The character that he plays on that show is the best character ever. He chews that scenery up. He does amazing things on that show. Yeah, you can start winding up the out music here because we're getting ready to go. And don't forget, special edition of Bruce Silverman. Oh, and Switched at Birth. For those of you people learning sign language or not interested in sign language, doesn't matter. Switched at Birth is an award-winning show. Watch it. It's good. It's got good characters. It's well acted. It's got comedy, and it's got sign language. So don't not watch it. Bruce Silverman coming up next, and then JJ and Sam with a special edition of Post Time from 4 to 6. We're going to have continuous coverage of the, what are we calling it? Boston Bomber Manhunt. All day long on SoFloRadio.com.
Bye. This is the South Florida Radio Network.